and I'm going to say hello. We're live. All right. So
Okay.
thank you. Amir is here today from Scotland.
Yeah.
Um, it just still blows my mind, Amir. I mean, I've been online for 25 years, but it
Yeah.
still blows my mind that I can talk to you in Scotland and I'm in Burbank, California. It's just so it's so mind-blowingly fantastic. But someone
Right.
I posted it on my Facebook site. Someone wrote a whole long thing about my generation.
Yeah.
And first, let me say my name's Tory Chrisman. It's Tory Magoo 44 on YouTube and TikTok. And my guest is Amir, who is in Edinburgh, Scotland. So we're both of us are ex-Scientologists. We were in Scientology I was in for 30 years. You were in for how long?
4 years. 4 years for me.
40 years. Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Your story is kind of amazing that because normally in my day, I got in 1969 before you were even a thought. And,
Yeah.
they had back then, you had to really work your way up to wherever you got to where you were public. Hey,
Yeah.
JB808, hi. Thank you for coming on. And Kelly, too. Kelly is my moderator, and JB808 makes the great thumbnails. He really has gotten good at it too.
Oh, shout out to them. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So back in my day, though, you had to really work your way up, and it took a long time. And in
Yeah.
4 years, they had Amir. You were like in charge of TikTok, right?
Oh my God. 2 years in, I was the heads. I ran one third of my org. 2 years in.
What is the has for anyone that doesn't know?
Yeah, so the HES is HES. It stands for the HCO Executive Secretary. HCO is obviously the Hubbard Communications Office. But imagine you go into an organization and you don't really know much about it, and then they're quite desperate. There's a bunch of guys that came back from 3 year training in Clearwater, Florida, and they need to expand and they need to get enough staff. And then you come in and you start, getting involved and learning, and you're quite curious and you're reading books, and then they have multiple sit downs and meetings with you and they say, "We want you to join staff. We want you to join staff. We want you to join staff." And they just boom, 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 keep doing it and keep sitting down with you. Every event you go to, they'll sit down with you after. Every time you go in and study after your course period, they'll sit down with you and try and get you on. And then you eventually join, and they say, "Well, you're going to actually run one third of this organization. And we're not going to give you your hat. Like, we're not going to tell you what your job is. Like, well,
And your
tell you
hat
what you
is your job,
exactly, like, so you know what you're doing, right? Like,
right?
so they'll tell you this is your post, this is your title, and this is, what you're going to be called. This is your office. Like, there's a whole routing form where they show you all this stuff, right?
Sure.
And they make sure that like, you understand briefly what you're supposed to do, but in terms of like the policy on how you go about doing it, and you don't get that at all, and you don't get any resources, you don't get any staff. You have to
Wow.
do all of these jobs and functions, and it's a mega, mega job because you're over multiple divisions. You're over all of ethics, all of internal and external communications. You're
Wow.
over the form of the organization, the stability of the organization, the recruitment, the staff, the promotion and marketing, the fundraising, making them
Wow.
viable enough to pay their bills and pay their staff, making enough money, selling services, selling books, promoting them. Like, there is you're over multiple divisions and departments, and you have no staff to help you at all. So
Amazing.
logically it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
No, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And that's a huge amount of jobs to do,
Yeah,
for one person. I mean, usually just so people know, there's usually, a head of every one of those things you're saying, right? And they
right.
have staff underneath them. So for you to be like, here you go, Amir, 2 years, you've been in for 2 years, you're good enough, go. It's just unbelievable. And then you were on the internet, right? Which, again, back in my day, nobody was on the internet, not at all. I mean, a couple of staff, but
Yeah.
public, not at all. And even staff, most of the staff, the majority were not allowed on. And people say, well, I would never go along with someone saying I'm not allowed. But part of what I want to talk about today is mind control because
Hmm.
it's a big part of, like, now they're coming out. Amir sent me a video of, his name is Tampa Brad, right? And
That's
he
right.
has these videos up about their latest, the future of education.
The new golden
Uh,
age, Tory, the new golden age.
the new golden age, unbelievable, and it's all for children. Okay,
Yeah.
Kelly, that's good. You can take it down because I don't think we can't hear him.
This is the channel, right?
There we go. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it was on the channel.
Yeah.
That was just a picture of him, but they now have 8 different new books for children with these are courses that these young children are taking. And you can
Yeah.
hear from how he talks, the mind control is there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The kids, like, part of people saying to me, being in for 30 years, how could you stay in for 30 years? And my number one thing is, did you ever see The Truman Show?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
that's really how Scientology is. And if you watch it and you watch it again, you have to watch a few times to really get it. But that is Scientology. That's how it works. And it's sort of like when you're surrounded by people going, Amir, this, you're going to be perfect for this. You're
Mm.
exactly who we need. And
Hmm.
it's hard to resist that. It's sort of like, really? At first at least for me, it was kind of like, really? For any of the things where I was the only one who could do it. But
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
use that a lot. And the other thing they keep in as far as the mind control is, you cannot talk to each other about negative things,
Mm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Is that
That's
true
right.
in Scotland?
Yeah. I mean, all of LRH policy is the same,
Right,
globally, and it's a snitch culture, and you have to learn and you have to study all of these policies on courses, and um to become a Scientology counselor and auditor, the first course you have to do is the student hat course. I remember when I spoke to the FBO, the flag banking officer, which is a Sea Org job in Scientology.
right,
He has to be a Sea Org member to be the flag banking officer. And I remember he said, Amir, grab those lectures from the shelf. And I went and grabbed it. And he said, grab that pack over there, that red pack. And I grabbed it. And he said, go grab that check sheet. And I grabbed it. And he says, okay, hold it. And I was holding it. I was holding it like this. Because, the lectures are thick. The lectures are really,
right,
um, and he was like, you're holding the most important course in all of Scientology. And then when I actually got on to doing the student hat, um, the student hat for me was for free because it was part of my staff training.
right,
But for just the general, like Tom Cruise is a very big advocate. Like he talks about study technology all the time, right? He says that he was diagnosed with dyslexia and that study technology helped. And so Tom is a very big advocate of it. But you have to do it. It's the first ever course on that side of the bridge because the bridge is split in half. You've got the
right,
counseling and processing, and then you've got the auditor training to become an auditor. So you have
right.
to do the student hat, and you have to do it twice. It's done, 2 times, and
That's the
it's
first time I heard that. I was made to do it twice, but I
yeah,
didn't know
you
that
have
that
to.
now it's a policy that you have to do it twice.
Per the check sheet, you have to do it twice. You have to do part one twice and part two twice. And
Wow.
it's 80 hours. That's the check sheet time to complete the student hat. Nobody ever does it in 18 hours because you have to come in a certain amount of hours to do the 80 hours. But it says when you open up the student hat, the very first thing it says is this is the most important course in all of Scientology. That's the very first line of the student hat because without study technology and you know, having clearing your words and not having any words that you don't understand on the page and misunderstood, then how can you learn anything? How can you become an auditor? How can you,
Right.
and then you get introduced to, because they test you on this stuff, right, Tori? You have
Yeah.
star rates. Oh my God. Star rates. I can't talk enough about star rates. I cannot talk enough about the anxiety of having a star rate checkout and having, you
Now
know,
explain it because
yeah,
most people don't know what a star rate is. You and
for
I
sure.
know, but
For
people that
sure.
were never in, it's sort of like it means nothing. So
I'm so happy
explain
they
what
don't
it
know about
is.
it. I'm so happy they
Huh?
don't. They're so blessed. They're so blessed not to know about it.
I
Um,
know.
Star rates are basically, so you'll be doing a major Scientology course on the bridge, okay? So you'll be learning maybe how to be an auditor or a counselor. But LRH says that Ellen Hubbard says you need to know what you're studying. So how do we make sure that you know what you're studying? So you're going to take pages, maybe it could be 3 pages of policy, it could be a 1 page of policy, it could be 10 pages of policy, depending on what the policy is. And you'll read it and you'll study it and you'll have a dictionary to make sure that you understand what the words mean. And someone will sit down with you because you'll read it, right, and then you'll say to the supervisor, "Can I go get a star rate?" And he might grab someone, or you might have to leave and grab someone, and they'll sit down opposite you, and they'll have the policy in front of them, and they'll say, it starts off by making sure you understand the words. So okay, so say, okay, what's the definition of "and"? And you have to be flawless. You have because
Right.
there are so many kinds of misunderstood words. You have to
Sure.
know it. Like there's a half definition. So if you say half of the official definition, it's a misunderstood word. If you pause for too long, it's a misunderstood word. If you invent, because maybe you have some other definition in mind of the word, it's a misunderstood word. So he'll ask you, what's the definition of "and"? What's the definition of St. Hill, which is their UK headquarters? What's the definition of this word? And you have to be perfect. And then he'll say, okay, demonstrate to me this, demonstrate to me that. And you just have to, there's policies on it, but you just have to be flawless. And then he'll say, okay, good, pass. And then you go on to the next policy. But that's a star rate checkout. They make sure that you
And not only do you
understand.
have to know the words, but the
Yeah,
concepts.
exactly.
You also have to demonstrate. They have a thing called a demo kit,
Yeah.
and you have to put together. It's usually, like just little, what can I,
Paper clips and
paper
bands
clips,
and
yeah,
yeah,
just different things, and
different
and you have
things.
to be able to show that you understand what's in
Yeah,
that policy or the technical thing. And I'll tell you one
exactly.
opposite of that. I was working with Applied Scholastics, which is Scientology's, basically it's a front group for Scientology having to do with education. And so
Yeah.
I went with the head of it out to a group where it was a bunch of heads of schools.
Mm.
And we sat down and he said, okay, we're going to clear some words.
Oh
And of
God.
course, they didn't know what he was talking about. So he looks
Oh.
at the first person and goes, what's the definition of school? And she gives what she thinks it is. And then the next person, and they think of it. And every single person had a different definition.
Oh my
And
God.
so, see, that's how they close people. They go, see, nobody knows what you're talking about. You're all talking about different things. Now, the truth is, every one of them understood each one. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So you really don't have to have, I mean, sometimes words do need to be cleared if you don't really know what it is. But 90% of the time, what you're talking about with these star rate checkouts, we all know what it is. It's just they're being whatever they're being. It is what
And
it
it's
is.
and it's also it's up to the person to pass or fail you as well.
Right.
Like you
Right.
could you could you could sit down and you know the material front to back and you understand what Ron is saying in the policy and you understand how to use it. But if you pause for 2 seconds, flunk, do it again. Go. So it's on the person to feel like you understand it and then he has the power to fail you or pass you. So it's oh my God, it's yeah, it's if you have anxiety, then star rates are hell, hell.
That's where I met my husband, was doing star rates. That was it. And
God,
someone came in, this is a true story, in 1974
yeah.
and said, everyone, and normally it's whatever time it is, but it ends at like 9 or 10. And they said everyone is staying all night because their statistics end at Thursday at 2, right? So he
Oh
said
yeah,
everyone is
God,
staying all night. Now let's say I had done, they do, this is why Tom Cruise loves it, because they do what are called check sheets where every single thing is listed and you can go as fast as you want through it or as slowly as you want. And either way, you're not
yeah,
behind.
mm,
It's like there's no one that's behind. And that's why he likes it, because he had dyslexia and in school it was very, very difficult.
mm,
But with the check sheet, you can go at your own rate. So
yeah,
let's say I had done this much of the check sheet and it was like, you know, way, way longer than that. And
yeah.
he comes in and he says, everyone's going to finish your entire check sheet by midnight tonight. No, by 4 o'clock, by 2 o'clock tomorrow, which is when the stats end. So everybody's going to stay all night. We're going to bring in donuts and coffee at midnight. And I freaked out because I have epilepsy. I take medicine for it. And I knew I got to get home. And I was ready to jump out the window. I was really freaking out. And I said to my husband, I have to get out of here. And he wasn't my husband then. He was just some guy that was checking me out, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I didn't know him at all.
Hmm.
And he said, okay, hang on. I didn't know he met L. Ron Hubbard when he was 5. His parents were in, so he was totally grew
Wow.
up in it. So he said, hang on. And he comes back and he goes, all right, let's go. And I'm like, let's go? Because I was really like brainwashed. And I thought,
Hmm.
we can't leave. They said we have to stay. They said, no, come on. So we go outside and I said, what did you do? And he said,
Mm.
I just told him my twin is hungry and it's out tech to study being hungry. So I'm going to go
Yeah,
get her something to eat and then
it
we'll come
is.
back. So we went and got something to eat. I fell in love with him having hamburgers and french fries. And then I
That's
said,
cool.
now what? Again, thinking we have to go back. And he said, we're
Yeah,
going to go home. This is totally out tech.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's
it's sort of like
true.
if you can think for yourself, which obviously you could, then that's how you were able to move through it so quickly.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
biggest thing, is stopping people from thinking. Don't you think?
yeah. 100%, 100%. That's funny. I just remembered that actually. You're not allowed to go and study, or you're not allowed to have auditing or have counseling if you haven't had food, or if you're fasting, or if you haven't had water, or if you haven't had enough sleep. It's like so off
Right.
policy, You can study or go in session if so that's just very interesting. Um, but yeah, do you know what? I was reading John Atack's book. Obviously, when you leave, there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of reading, and finished Steve's book of
And you're
Combat
talking
Control.
about reading once you're out, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just I mean, I was
That's
reading
what,
stuff when I was in, but like I've been reading a lot more since I've been out. And I
right.
finished Steve's book, which is phenomenal. And I was reading John Atack's book, Piece of Blue Sky, and there's another book that John's also written. And I got really emotional reading it. I got really, really emotional because it's some people will be like, how the fuck can you fall for Scientology? How can you fall for that?
Right.
But I think we really want to, like, especially now, there's so much self-improvement and there's so much, I just want to find ways to implement good habits and spiritually maybe advance, or mental health wise advance. And there's a film online, and it's about 20 minutes long, where L. Ron Hubbard is talking about the bridge. Um, and it's actually like a film, it's not like a lecture. You can actually see Ella Wright speaking about it. And he's saying that everything is on a gradient. You give them this, and then this, and then this, and then this. You don't just nail them in the oneer with. It's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And then you have Mormon missionaries. I used to see Mormons all the time because, I mean, I'm in the capital of Scotland, in Edinburgh, and I'm pretty sure the orgs strategically are located in the city centre. They're always in the city, in the busy areas. And that's also where Mormons walk around. That's where Mormon missionaries walk around. And so I would see them. I like speaking to people, so I would speak with them. And if Mormon theology is very interesting, but that these guys, they come up to you and they're well dressed, they're very good looking, very polite, and they'll say, "Hi there, do you want to come to church on Sunday? I'm inviting you to church." And you might just be a Christian, and you're like, "Yeah, okay." Or maybe you've moved into the city and you're like, "Yeah, sure." And then, it's not just they'll leave you alone. They'll sit down with you. You have to become a member. You have to be baptized, and then part of that you need to go see the chaplain. Funnily enough, in Scientology, there's also a chaplain. But you sit down with the chaplain, you get asked multiple questions. Do you believe that this guy is the current prophet? Do you believe that Joseph Smith restored the true church of Jesus Christ? Are you okay to pay 10% of your money tithing? And if you don't pay it, you can't partake, there's a level of embarrassment, which is you can't partake in the sacrament, you can't have bread and water, you can't get a temple recommend. So if you meet a beautiful girl and you want to get married and you've got your wedding next month in the temple and you maybe do something and you get your temple recommend taken away from you. Some people have had that for because the chaplain thinks they've went too far with their girlfriend or something, and they take away their temple recommend, and it's like their wedding is like a month later. So there, and then John covers in his book as well how people can still fall for, scams and cons nowadays. I mean, how people can phone you up and say your PC is bugged, your computer is bugged, and you're like, really? And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to pay me $120, $150, and I can fix it and I can put on the software for you. But we need to act fast. We need to act, and there's this. You'll see the commonality. There's this urgency, and there's you got to pay me, and then I can make it happen. You got to pay your
Right,
tithing, or you got to pay me now, or you need to pay me for your spiritual freedom, or you need to pay me, and then I can help you. If you don't
right.
pay me, then you're screwed. There is this commonality, and people, because they want help or they're scared of consequences, do it. There's people that I remember
Well,
that there was
scammers are very good at convincing people.
yeah,
That's number one.
for
So
sure.
it's sort of like if it feels like Fraud Alert told me this. Tori, if you think it's weird, if it feels weird, it is weird.
Mm,
So and they also said there is nothing in the world that is free. Nothing.
yeah.
So if they say it's free, just move,
Mm,
hang up, get off the internet, you know, because it's like it's the beginning of a con. And
yeah.
that's how Scientology is. It's free lecture. Come on in. Oh, it
Free
isn't.
personality test, free
Yeah,
stress
free
test.
personality test, free stress test. It's like, no, it isn't. It
Yeah,
isn't.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking about it a lot because I just I've been reading a lot more recently, and I just found comfort and peace in reading. And I never used to be like that. I used to hate reading, but now I love it. And I was just like, it's just like a lack of education, or maybe it's not knowing about it. And it's
Right,
like, you've just got a guy on the street who's saying, "Hey, do you want a free stress test?" Well, how long is it? I've got to go to work. It's 5 minutes. 5 minutes here. Come with me. Free stress test. Bang, you're in the building. Or, hey, do you want to come to church on Sunday? Like and they kind of talk with you and you get along with them, and then bang, you're in. But if you don't know about Scientology, and if you don't know about Mormonism, and if you don't know about just general authoritarianism and what you're getting yourself into, and if someone discourages you, because there is information control, and they'll say, well, listen, ignore those guys, ignore the critics. Are me and you okay? Yeah, we're okay, good. So just, come back and, like they discourage you from
right.
getting all the information. They'll say, don't
Totally.
worry about that stuff. So if you can educate yourself through books and through these videos and through streams and through what people have to say about it on both sides of the pond, education is such a big part of it, and you do a hell of a
It's
job
huge.
just by giving people cards.
Yeah, I do. I pass out, and I recommend this to everyone.
Yeah,
I just pass out these little cards. They're business cards.
there it
And
is.
that
Yeah,
came from we used to protest and pass out flyers, and
yeah,
everybody would throw them on the street. And I realized they're too big. Nobody wants to carry a flyer.
yeah.
So I started making these business cards with just Xenu.net and various different websites on them. And at the bottom, I had Scientology's site on it so that they could look at both sides. And
Yeah.
I just, if I see young people, I say, did I tell you about the girl in the restaurant?
The one who was on the way to join the Sea Org and you stopped her or something.
No, no, those are some guys that
Oh,
didn't. This was a girl. Just a couple weeks ago, I went to a restaurant and with
yeah,
my friend, and here in LA, there's a lot of Latinos, Latinas, and they're after them, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I made the video for TikTok. For the
Mm,
young people and Latinos, anybody who speaks two languages, they're after them.
for sure.
So she was Latina and very pretty. And I said, look, just so you know, and my friend was in for a long time too. So she cracked up as soon as I said, just so you know. She said, oh God, here she goes. And I said, you're Latina and you're young and you're pretty. And I was in a cult for 30 years and they're after people just like you. And she
Mm.
goes like this, oh my God, you're the lady on TikTok with the purple hair. And she went
Wow.
and got her sister. She said, this is the girl from TikTok. It was so funny. We cracked up. But it honestly, it's like it really helps to just educate young people because a
Yeah,
lot of people I'll tell them that I'll say, your life is in danger and they'll say, "What?" And I'll say, "You're 15
yeah,
minutes away from Scientology." Because here in LA,
yeah,
they're all around, right? And they'll go, oh my God, I've watched all of Leah Remini's videos, but I don't believe them. And I'll go, well, you know what? I know a lot of those kids and they're absolutely true. And they go, really? And then everyone wants to talk to me, not because of me, but just it's somebody who's real that can talk to them and explain it. And
yeah,
so I really recommended more people do it because a lot of people have gotten back to me and said, thank you for your card. I did look it up and I'm not going into it. You know what I mean? It's a really good educational thing. Ah,
Oh,
thank you.
shout out to
Apostate.
Alex.
Hi, Alex. You've got Amir on your channel. He's a sweetheart. Big love to you
He's
both.
lying.
Thank
He's
you. Yeah,
lying.
we love you too. He's
Just
live?
he's lying. Ignore Alex.
No, no, no. He's a
No, shout
big
out to Alex. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
both of you are like big stars in the ex Scientology community and probably in Scientology too. They probably really hate both of you because you're very effective,
I
both
don't
of
think they
you.
like any of us. Oh man. I actually walked by. I walked by not too long ago and they were just completely shocked because I was like sitting down with a friend and then I had some pizza and then I was walking by and like they were going on course at like 6 o'clock or something, 6 p.m. And they like I saw them watching me from the top window and they were just like in complete shock. But
Alex wrote the Sykes paid him
oh,
to
this
say
site's
that.
paid for fuck's sake.
Of course. Of course. That's the thing for everything. I honestly believed that when I was in. They told
Yeah.
me Bob Minton, who helped start Lisa McPherson Trust, and they said, "Oh, and he was a multimillionaire," and they said, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's just paid by the Sykes. That's why he's doing that." And so I spread that around because I
Yeah.
believed it. And then when I got out, I met him and realized what a lie that was. And I
Mm.
said to Bob, I'm really sorry. I honestly spread a lot of shit about you and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. And
Yeah.
this was his response.
Mm.
That's it, Tory? You think that's it? You're gonna just say you're sorry and that's gonna be the end of it? No. You were in this group for 30 years. You supported the group. You did X, Y, and Z. So you have to make up the damage. That was what he said. He didn't use those
Wow.
words because those are Scientology words, kind of make up the damage. That's an
Yeah.
ethics thing. But he said you have to educate people and let them know not to get in. And I always think about it when I talk to people. I always remember Bob Minton saying that to me because it went to my heart. It was like he's right. I didn't do a lot. I guess I did, but I didn't think I did, but
Mm.
he did. And he said it doesn't matter. Even if you didn't do anything, you were in, and that helped support the group, and that helped that group do creepy things. So what you're
Yeah.
doing, he's somewhere going, thank you, Amir, because you're doing good things. I mean it. It's very important what you're doing. It's what fill
Yeah.
us in on what you've been up to.
All sorts of stuff. I mean, it's crazy thinking that I was an executive 2 months ago. It's actually like when you like I was literally an executive 2 months ago. It was
I know.
end of January.
Yeah.
Or well, I think it's maybe yeah, it was end of January that I left, and I've had the opportunity to. I've got you're not there all day every day anymore, and you're just turned to an absolute nuclear ball of energy, and so you just need to direct in the right places. So I've been, traveling a lot. I've had more time just to put into film and acting and stuff. Uh, I've been getting into more activities. I've, playing football every single week, meeting people, and then just spreading the message to as many people as possible online. And through that,
Good.
I'm seeing the effect of it. Just being able to provide updates to families is numero uno. That's the first thing, and
Me too.
encouraging people to speak out for the very first time. That is a tremendous effect to have for sure. That's crazy and really really beautiful. But just staying as busy as I possibly can, I think, in
I
these
know
last few
you've done
months.
some really good work and you've done a lot of interviews, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
big time.
that's really important because they're on the internet forever. See,
It's
that's the thing.
immortalized, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like the internet, when Anonymous showed up, they said this is their demise. And they
Yeah.
were right.
Mm,
It's sort of like they can't get rid of us. Do you know what I mean?
totally.
As much as they
Totally.
try, the education is out there. And
Yeah.
they used to say they owned the internet. That's what started all this because they put up that thing of Tom Cruise saying you're either in or you're out. Did you
I
ever
mean,
see that video?
David Miscavige says the same thing because when I was at the IES event last year, which is one of their biggest events annually, David briefed everyone in the marquee in the tent saying, when you're in, assume that you're in. I can't remember the exact quote verbatim, but when you're in, assume they're in for the long ride or something. Don't assume that someone's going to come in and dip out.
No.
Um, but I'll be real, okay? I'll be completely real with everyone. When I left publicly, I obviously would speak about what I've had to go through, for trying to fucking defend these guys. They were like, screw you. Um, but a thing that I spoke about for months before LRH's birthday and all that stuff was the child recruitment and trying to get kids in. And then now everyone is seeing there's this golden age of children, right? I had to
Right.
go through, I had, Tori, you went through the golden age of tech, the golden age of technology.
Right.
You went through the golden age of knowledge. Yeah, Lord knows how many golden ages you had to go through. I went through the golden age of admin and administration. And,
Right.
I left just before the golden age of children. And it's just funny, obviously, seeing because they can't recruit anybody, they have to just go full blown for children and staff members' kids and public's kids. So there you go. There's the strategy now.
Well, I'll tell you, I was unbelievably frightened being in an academy with a bunch of children who were trained. They were like Sea Org kids, and they knew nothing. They had an encyclopedia in there with the supervisor going, "This is Washington, D.C." And I said to him, "These are people that are going to pay $10,000 an hour to get audited by people who don't know where Washington, D.C. is."
Yeah.
It was just like unbelievable to me. And then I was in the academy with them, and it was frightening how how much they didn't understand the tech. They just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
really, I don't know what this is going to be, but I will tell you this. I was around when they did children's TR courses, which is their communication courses.
Yeah.
And this was an FSM, a field staff member who put it on. It wasn't the church at the time. And it was a disaster. I mean, it was a disaster. And I just
Yeah.
left. I took my son and I said, "No, I'm not doing this." And I
Yeah.
made my own books about communication for my
Yeah.
son because I thought these people don't know what they're talking about. And I don't want
Mhm.
them to be part of it. So I made my own books that were kind of about the topic, but
Yeah.
not with the weird stuff that they had.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. I mean, they. I mean, I could tell you, there's obviously this massive mega training called the Flag Executive Briefing Course, this FEBC training. Basically, you go to Flagland Base in Clearwater, Florida, which is the mecca of all of Scientology, where absolute perfection lies, and everyone is super on policy and super standard there, and you can get no better than Flag. And these guys go and and then they go and they do this training for 3 years. And my organization in Scotland, or my old organization, I should say, I think sent the smallest team of 3 people. So they were, for some reason, Scotland were allowed to send 3 people, only 3 people, while everyone else was sending loads of staff. And they came back with more. They came back with Sea Org members. But they went away for 3 years, and they came back in January of 2024. Now we're in 2026, and I left at the end of January. And the best they could do was get 2 people started on a course a week. 2 people started
So
on a course a week.
they still have the briefing course at Flag?
The Flag Executive Briefing course, the FEBC.
Oh,
Is that
I
is
see the FEBC.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
mean,
So
the same
that's more admin, right?
exactly,
So I'm
exactly.
thinking of the
Saint Hill Special
briefing
Briefing Course.
course. Yeah, the St. Hill Special,
Yeah, that's
which
what
is
I yeah.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can you
And
I mean
that's how
that was
you learn how to audit people, which used to be the basis of the triangle was auditing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now gone.
It's not a thing, you
That's
can't do it
amazing.
anymore.
Okay, so here's a question from Hager Basher, Great Scott. And it's question, who is paying for them to get to Clearwater from Scotland, England, and Ireland?
Oh, that's a
That's
good
to you.
question. Who's paying for them? The organization pays. It comes out of their weekly income. So the organization makes a certain amount of money per week. Not a lot of money at all. And they get pressure from management. They'll get telexes or emails saying, you need to send these guys for FEBC training immediately so that we can expand and grow and have everyone fully trained. And then it's just, yes, sir. Okay, sir. Whatever you need, sir. And then the org pays for it. If the org is struggling badly, then I've seen people
Sure.
pay their own flights to go to Flag and get whatever they need. It's true. So like the ED, Malcolm has done that many times, where it's like the org is suffering financially, and
Wow.
there's not enough new people coming in. So it's like, screw it, I'll just fucking pay for my own flight.
Yeah, I think it's the same here. I really do. Now,
Yeah.
someone else, Belinda Scott asked, has Amir been fair gamed?
I mean, there's definitely stuff happening, but I'm okay. Like, there's nothing to worry about, nothing serious at all. So
Good.
very good.
Good.
Yeah.
I know, it's really tricky with fair game. Like when I left and escaped out and they chased me across the country, I mean, that was all on the internet. I
Yeah.
didn't know it at the time, but
Yeah.
Bob Minton that night gave me his laptop and he said, "Look, nobody knows you. So I
Mm,
want you to tell your story." And I
yeah.
said, "Okay." And I sat down and I thought, "All right, what should I tell him?" And I thought, I'm going to talk to him about epilepsy
Mm.
because John Atuk has written his book about a piece of blue sky, and Ben
Yeah.
Corden had written his book. And, there was a lot of information about Scientology, but no
Yeah.
one had really spoken about medical abuse. And they
Mm.
are awful with that because they say, we're going to
Yeah.
fix it. And thank God my mother stayed in touch with me and realized I was losing my short term memory and said, either you're on your medication tonight or we're going to fly out there tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. And
Mhm.
believe me, L. Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology won't forget you. But
Mhm.
it's a major issue. Now I forgot what I was. See, short term memory. What was I talking about that began that?
Just the medical side of things and medicine and how they're really bad for that stuff
I
and
think it's education. I was just talking about if you're educated on
yeah.
it, and that's why the internet is so dangerous for them, because
Mm.
before they could blindside you and say, "Well, Scientology will fix that," and you'd think,
Mm.
"Oh, okay," because there
Yeah.
was nothing to say, "No, they won't." I mean,
Yeah.
there were a few people that left, but you were declared suppressive if you left. Well, that was the thing that they asked if you were fair game. Now, that's what I was saying. When I left, I was
Yeah.
majorly fair game. I mean,
Mm.
majorly for years until
Yeah.
Anonymous arrived. So 2000 to 2008,
Mm.
they fair game me because there were only four people on the internet with their phone numbers and names, and I was one of them. So everybody
Mm.
else, a lot of the activists now were still in Scientology. Mike Rinder, who was the PR of the church, it has
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
So that there were a lot of people that didn't speak out. So they fair game me like mad. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. But I'm glad they're leaving you alone. And I think that's from the internet because they know if they do anything to you, you're going to be on the internet the next day, or someone else that knows you. I
Yeah.
will if
Yeah.
I hear about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll make
Yeah.
videos about it and it'll go
Yeah.
around the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They're not a fan of when you highlight this stuff and they they try their best with these intimidation things, but it completely backfires on them. I mean, I remember like I publicly came out and I left, and then a few weeks later I get a letter through my door that says Amir staff contract is terminated, and this is the reason that we're terminating his staff contract. And it's like in boxing, it's like a back of the head shot. It's just a very cheap, petty thing. And then
Really.
immediately, I go live and with Alex, and we start talking about it and start laughing, and it's just like that's the last thing that they want, you know. But yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it is. And it is funny because it's
Yeah.
like, really, do you think people are going to worry about that?
Mm.
Even people on staff are probably going to go, they're having, their wheels are turning. Have people contacted you at all? Can you say or not?
For sure, for
Excuse
sure.
me.
Um,
Good.
no, it's okay. I mean, yeah, loads of people have contacted me, and I've contacted loads of people because I felt it was my responsibility that whoever I got in, I had to at least spread the word and message and then leave it up to them. And thankfully, everyone I got in, I got out. So that's very, very good and very fortunate to have done that for sure. Um, and I've had coffees with people, I've had dinner with people, I've sat down with people, I've traveled and met people. I just sending them the link to these videos and calling them up and telling them this is what happened to me. And the commonality from all of it is just a lack of education. And they
Right.
are just in complete shock. And they said, dude, I had no idea. I had no idea that they believed in that. I had no idea that that happened to you. Some days I seen you quite stressed out and I didn't know what was going on. But like the commonality is like a lack of knowledge. They didn't
Totally.
know any of that at all. It's not like they knew it and they were just not saying anything. Like they didn't know anything at all, what was going on, what was happening. And then it's just they're in complete shock and they don't want to associate with something like that at all. So
Now, do they still control people going on the internet in your day?
it's impossible. They do it with the Sea Org. They do it with the Sea Org for sure.
Okay,
With Sea Org members, but with Class 5 staff, it's and public. It's impossible.
forget it. That's what I thought because the internet is everywhere,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like in my day, it wasn't everywhere. Most
yeah,
people didn't even have a computer, and
yeah,
cell phones weren't nothing like what they are now. So
yeah,
in my day, they were just like, now, you don't want to be on the internet. It's all evil people. They all have misunderstoods. They don't know what they're talking about. They have
yeah,
their whole pitch on don't go on the internet and don't read what's being said about Scientology because it's not true. And bonus, it'll totally ruin your eternity, your freedom
yeah,
as eternally. And so that's why when I left and I said, okay, I'm not only done with Scientology, I'm done with auditing for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Because I was talking to the BTs and clusters that I thought were
yeah,
around. And I
yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah,
I was on OT7 and I was like,
yeah,
get out of here, go away. I don't care where you go. I recommend that, an island or something away from a big city because don't get into Scientology. It doesn't work. That
yeah,
was my thing. And just go enjoy your life. And I mean, I didn't even know if they were real or not. But it was
yeah.
sort of like, if you're around, don't be counting on me because I'm done. I am done, 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 done. And that was a good thing for me. It was a good thing to make that decision because it kept me like not going, maybe I should go back. No, forget it.
Yeah. Do you know what? Do you know what's really surprises me, Tori? And I don't know why it surprises me, but it really does. And they're so, I'll give them credit. Like they are so good at creating their own enemies.
I
And
know
they're, and
that's their best thing.
I don't know, like it's actually really fucking impressive. It's really impressive. Like there's a Scientology podcast which was just pulled up by Kelly, right, about the Don't Do Nothing podcast, right? And
Right.
me being very curious and encouraging open dialogue and just communicating with one another, um, I went and I did an interview with Alex, which is completely unheard of for an executive without approval to go and speak to, you
Oh, and
know,
this is when you were still in?
this is when I was still in, right? I did an interview with
Wow.
Alex, and I, you know, wanted to express at the time anything I gained from it, any wins that I got from it, and I had the best of intentions. And then I
Right.
go and I do it, and then for the next, that opened up Pandora's box. And for the next 2 weeks, I went through a lot of psychological, I mean, they really fucked with you. Like they, being interrogated, being put in a small ethics room, being put on an ethical program, being put on heavy manual labor, without any pay for hours and hours and hours,
Wow.
taking weights up and down stairs multiple times, being isolated from all of your colleagues,
Wow.
being told that you did something wrong, and here's the L. Ron Hubbard policy on it, because there's a LRH policy called Enemy Lines, which is located in the PR series. Because LRH did a course on PR, and it basically says that don't forward enemy lines. Make your own bigger and better campaign and forward that. Which is basically, it amazes me how much they discourage free speech and take away that human right. But the
Right.
point is, you are like fighting for a cause that you believe to be true and right at the time, and you're at the front leading the charge, leading the march with your swords and your weapons, and you're on the battlefield, and then you take the first step forward, and then your second in command sticks a bayonet in your back and your army turns on you for
Wow.
trying to fight for them and defend them, and it hurts like a bitch at the time. But you look at Mike Rinder, and you look at all these guys that bit down on the bullet, guys that went through and public as well, not just Sea Org, like staff members, public that went through so much and just had to bite down on the bullet and defended the organization, and and then they just treat them like utter garbage. Like I'm so amazed at how amazing they are at creating their own enemies and turning, making staff and Sea Org in public dislike them incredibly, and the disgusting treatment. It just amazes me. It amazes me.
Right. No, I hear you. I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Now wait.
Chris Shelton, I think Chris is amazing, and we've had some really cool conversations. And there's a lot of YouTube videos on it. But you look at the Sea organization and those guys selling all their property, having nothing, being completely reliant upon the organization. I'm refraining from saying church, but the organization being completely reliant upon them. Like they feed you, they clothe you, they give you birthing, and they treat them like garbage. They just treat them like complete garbage, but they go along with it. I mean, I remember no, 2 years ago when I was at St. Hill, in England, um, there I was with a friend, and there was a Sea Org member who was talking and catching up with my friend, and the Sea Org member was talking about David Miscavige, and he was like, "If only you knew how much he fucking cared about the Sea Org." And David Miscavige wants to make sure that all Sea Org members get enough sleep. And if we don't get enough sleep, then we can't do our jobs. If only you knew how much he fucking cared about us. Like, they're like so in the loop. And I spoke to Steve Hassan, and Steve gave me an amazing example. And he was like, "Amir, you like films, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay, see, in the mindset of a staff member or a Sea Org member, or even like, like just the general public that go and do services there, like hardcore members, imagine you're in a film and you're an actor and you've got a part, you've got a role, okay? And for months, you prep and you get into that character and that role. That's not actually you. You're not actually a pirate. You're not actually, whoever you're playing, but you're so immersed in it that you think for that time that is you. And so I was like, yeah, that's so true. It's like you're playing this role that you are so immersed in and you believe it's you, but really it's not at all. And I guess what strikes me is the treatment of these guys, staff members that dedicate their bank accounts, their lives, their families, and they're just treated like scum.
But
Oh,
again, I have to say,
yeah,
and Steve talks about it a lot. He has a whole website, what, Freedom of Mind.
yeah,
And it really, he really, really breaks down the mind control. But this is my concern about the children. Because
yeah,
you think about, you hear you or me talk about how, abusive they are. And people think, well, why would someone stay with that? But when you understand peer pressure and mind control and how it actually works,
mm,
then it's like, oh, and that's why I use the Truman Show, because
yeah,
explaining mind control it takes a long time. But when I got off the plane, these critics who'd never been in said, "How can you be in something like this for 30 years?" And I said, "Have you ever seen the Truman Show?" And they all went like this, "Oh my God." And Jesse Prince called me aside and he goes, "Tory, we've been trying to explain to these people for months
yeah,
why this is so dangerous. And you get off the plane and in 2 minutes you've totally explained it,
yeah,
because it's not
yeah,
me, it's the movie. But once you
yeah,
understand that you're isolated, insulated in this organization that is abusive, and that's why I worry about the kids, because this is the beginning of them joining into that organization where they can't think, they can't
mm,
look. They can't talk to anybody except the people that are in the organization. And that's what the beginning of it is. And that's why for parents, they really should think about it before they put these kids on these courses, because it's not just, oh, this will be nice. They can do assist now. No, you're literally giving them their passport into Scientology.
yeah, yeah. That's funny. On on Facebook because they run the Facebook ads. There's a lot of Scientology ads, and sometimes it's masked and there's smoke and mirrors, and it will say there's a like for example this week on Sunday on the 5th of April, there's going to be a Easter egg, some sort of Easter Sunday Easter egg hunting with face
Right.
painting and stuff. But then you look at the account and it's, a Scientology organization. And there's this massive push on kids very recently, especially with this, new golden age of children and whatnot. But just be careful, be very careful. And this is just obviously
Yeah.
to everyone watching because you'll get these ads, but just make sure you know who's promoting these ads. Like
Yeah,
it
because
might say that
it sounds good.
it sounds good and it sounds like, okay, well, I can take my son and daughter and they can go get some face painting and do an Easter
Right.
egg hunt. But then, just look at the account because it might say Scientology, it might say Hubbard something, the Hubbard Federation or the Hubbard Academy or whatever. It might say Dianetics. Just make sure you know what you're taking your kids to because there is these Facebook ads and there is this push. Tony Ortega did a very recent put out an article where they have this new golden age of children, which David Miscavige talked about on the 14th of March at the birthday event, and now they're trying to get those kids' books into libraries so that people walk into libraries, and boom, there it is. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's so important to just raise the awareness what that book looks like and recognizing L. Ron Hubbard on the front and knowing who that is and knowing
Right.
that if you pick up the eight dynamics, if you pick up ARC, knowing you know what that is, what that means, and who's talking about it, so it's just building that education and that level of awareness for people in case they see it online or in person.
Right. Right. Thank you. It's really important.
Amy, I really think parents investigate things better these days. I agree, Amy, especially with the internet and having that level of awareness. I mean, obviously, when LRH was alive, or even after that, you would have, if you knew someone that maybe would talk about things, or if you read what was in the papers or whatever. But now, with the level of awareness on social media, and that's why they can't get new people in. It's honest to God, it's social media, and I would
Oh,
sit down with people.
absolutely.
It's
A
honestly
hundred
like
percent.
1000%, thousand
Yeah.
percent, because I
Yeah.
my job at one point was dealing with new people and introducing them to it via social media and sitting down with them and getting them in the building outside. And part of the policy, the dissemination drill on how you're supposed to talk to someone about Scientology, you ask them, have they heard of it? And then you handle any PR that they might have per the policy. And so
Right.
you ask someone, how have you heard of it? And they're like, yeah, TikTok, yeah, YouTube, yeah, this. So social media has built that level of awareness, and that's how a lot of parents know about it, and how a lot of teenagers even know about it. So that's
Right.
been game changer for sure.
Right. Game changer.
Yeah,
All right. So here's a question from JB808. Being the most recent streamer to leave Scientology, have you gotten the itch to protest yet? And if so, how would you approach a member to be impactful?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aloha JB. Uh, Not really, not really, to be completely honest. I've thought about it, and I've thought about, several things. A lot people have said maybe you should start a YouTube channel, and that would be really, really cool. And I've thought about a lot of things, but I just it has to be like why do you want to do it, and do you want to do it? And I'm just really happy right now to keep pursuing my film, keep getting into, playing my football and traveling, and also just raising awareness, talking to you, Tory, and talking to people on the internet, and just immortalizing these videos so that people can see them, and reach out to the foundations if they need support, or reach out to anybody if they just want to talk to somebody, because the confidentiality is there. Listen, I was an executive and I was speaking to Alex and I was speaking to several other people for weeks, and nobody gave me away at all, and people were giving me advice and all sorts of stuff. So the secrecy and the confidentiality is there, even if you just want to speak to someone. So I am just happy building awareness online right now. And yeah,
Absolutely. I'll tell you
yeah,
my view
for
when I
sure.
left. I wasn't going to say anything. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
leave under the radar. I even called Stacy on this phone and said, I'm not going to make videos, I'm not going to speak out, and I'm not going to protest. And she
yeah,
said, Tory, we're only doing for you what we wish someone had done for us when we left the Sea Org.
yeah,
So I thought, okay, fair enough. But I was still planning on nothing. But then they canceled my van. And then they were at the airport. And then they
yeah,
chased me across the country. And by the end, at 1:45 in the morning, I was an activist. And I thought, you know what? If I can save one person from not getting into this thing, it's worth any fair game they do.
yeah,
There's nothing because I knew fair game was pretty much gaslighting.
yeah,
And if you know
yeah.
what gaslighting is, it's just stuff to mentally screw you up. But
Mm,
if you know what it is, it's not really effective.
mm.
And I thought, if I can keep one person from not joining this group, it's worth it. And I think for you, because of your age and because of how much you did in the time you did it, it would really help to have a YouTube site. And
A lot of
they're
people
not
have
going
said
to,
that. A lot of people
I
have said
know, but I'm just saying, I don't think I have, but I think I bet I am now because I
yeah,
really think it would be invaluable for you because, especially because
yeah,
of TikTok.
yeah,
These people on TikTok, I'm shocked at how much they think everyone was in the Sea Org. Everyone. And I listen to
yeah,
ex-Sea Org members, and they often say, well, everything in Scientology, this happens to everyone in Scientology.
mm,
Excuse
yeah,
me. I just
yeah,
corrected Dylan the other night because he said the same thing. And
yeah,
then once we broke it down, it was like he was right in what he said, but which is everybody has a folder on them. But
mm,
I was right. He understood what I was saying, what I was saying, because of the Sea Org guys saying this happens to everyone, and it doesn't. Public are very different than Sea Org.
it's true. Do you know what you just made me think of right now? I thought, like I was over, many things, right? And I had to obviously sell a lot of books. I had to get as much L. Ron Hubbard material and books and what LRH had to say about life into people's hands. I had to sell all
Right.
these books, and I had creative control to do that at a later point with social media and through lectures and through speaking to people. Um, but you made me think of right now, like there is. We don't have a celebrity centre in Scotland like London. London have CC, a celebrity centre, and there's CC International, Celebrity Centre International. There's all of these celebrity. We don't have that. But just because we don't have a celebrity centre does not mean we don't have celebrities come in. And
Sure.
there is contacts on my phone, and there's celebrities which I will not name, and there's politicians which I will not name that I came across that would come and do a personality test, or that I sold a book to, or that my friend sold a book to. And if they knew that Scientology has files and paperwork and folders on
Right.
them and
Right.
phone calls and letters and their address and notes and emails and phone numbers and private information that they have on these guys, if only they knew, I don't think they'd be too happy or impressed.
But see,
Um,
you could make that video on YouTube and never say a name. You don't
yeah,
have
for
to.
sure, for sure.
They're going to go, wait a minute, is he talking about me? And you can say, contact me if you have a question. And they probably will, going, look, are they talking about me? Mr. Biggest celebrity in Scotland? And you go, yeah, they are. I am. I don't want to mention your name because you're public, but, you know, and you're a celebrity and da, 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 but yeah, they do. And,
Mm,
like I had, do you know my story about Rosie O'Donnell?
yeah, I've seen your YouTube video on it.
Okay. So she emailed me, right? And
Mhm.
said, Dear Magoo, this is Roro. And I
Mm.
said, how do I know you're Roro? You could be Osa pretending to be Roro. So
Yeah.
call me, because that's always my thing. Call me. And she
Yeah.
called me and we talked for 2 hours. And at the end, she said, I can't. She called me the next night. She said, I can't thank you enough. I would
Yeah.
have given them $1 million. That's what they wanted. But she wanted to make a movie, a TV show about Scientology. And I said,
Yeah.
what do your friends and family say? And she said, don't do it. And I said, you know what? I agree with your friends and family because they
Mm.
will come after you in a
Yeah.
bad way. So, but
Yeah.
I said, but what you can do, and this is true for you and with anybody in Scotland who talks to
Mm.
you,
Yeah.
you can tell other celebrities about them. You can give them, xenu.net, xenu.net, and say,
Yeah.
go study it. If you don't believe me, go read this. Or, all the different things that are on the internet
I
that you
love
like.
Mark Bunker's channel, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Honestly, I because I there's like interviews that exes do, and Mark, I was just really fascinated by the older videos and the archive videos from the past, and like the videos that you don't really see, and
Right.
Mark would put out, without knowing it was Mark at the time, Mark would put out these really unique videos from 20 years ago, or the early, or people
Sure.
that knew LRH, or people that, residents that were in the same house as Jack Parsons and LRH. And I'd be so fascinated by that whole, and but point is, Mark would put out tremendous videos, and I'm a fan,
Right. Right.
honestly.
Right. And that alone, you could just say
Yeah,
go to his site. But the
for
point is
sure.
you can refer people and then that way you don't have to say their name, but it would at least let them know. I mean, that one communication would be invaluable. You could just put that up and don't put up anything else. And it
Yeah,
would be and see what happens. It would be
yeah,
very interesting
for
because
sure.
it's amazing. It really is. I mean, you
Yeah.
could watch Dylan, me interviewing Dylan, and hear what he has to say about everybody and every single person has a folder on them, no matter
Hmm.
public or Sea Org or staff,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's kind of spooky for a lot of people.
I mean, there's multiple files. There's, you have your ethics file, you have your PC folder, your pre-clear folder. So any
Right,
counseling you do, everything you say in all your counseling sessions, everything you admit to, all your stories, your childhood, your school you went to when you were 6 years old, the time you punched a kid in the face when you were 13, something that you did with your girlfriend, a mistake you made, every time you cheat, everything you confess to in counseling, there is a folder on it.
right,
Then you have your CF folder, your central files folder, every phone call, every letter that ever goes to your house. One letter goes to your house, the other one is
a
another
cop,
copy goes into your file, all your phone
right.
notes. So if I call you up and we speak on the phone for 5 minutes and I'm trying to get you in and you're like, I don't, I can't really manage to come in right
Amir,
now.
that all of what you're saying right there, you should put on a video. I'm telling you,
It's
you
good
don't have to
information,
do
yeah.
you don't have to do a ton of stuff, but just stuff like that where you think
Yeah,
that's what I did. I went through my head and went, what do people not know? And I
yeah.
started making a video, right? And for me, it started with medical abuse and epilepsy. And they
Yeah,
always, for 30 years, pounded me on it and made me, you're a degraded being and you're PTS and all this other shit. And
yeah,
I put it on the internet and these critics backed me up. It was so great, Amir.
yeah,
I mean, it was like I was so used to them pounding me. I was afraid to do it, but I thought, I don't care. I'm going to just fucking do it. And I put
yeah,
it on, and right away, Osa was in there, which was
yeah,
Bill Yachty, my auditor, saying
yeah.
blah, 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 blah about Tory. She's this, she's that. Don't trust her, that, that, that. And then the critics just jumped, because he started in with, why would anybody take you? If we had a ship and we could take 21 people, why would we take you?
Mm,
And these critics went nuts. I mean, it
yeah,
was so great. I just sat back. As soon as I saw the question, I thought, oh, hallelujah. And it was it was fantastic because it's like there's a support for you that
Yeah.
is way bigger than anything Scientology could ever come up with.
Yeah.
That's just a way, that's just a fact. That's the way it is.
Do you know
So
what's really interesting? I think there not like if you kind of estimate and round it, I think there's 25,000 active Scientologists currently
if
as of
that.
2026. Um, I I feel like there's more ex-Scientologists than active Scientologists for some reason. Like I need someone to verify that, but I feel like with the amount of people that have left the organization and people that have spoke out against it, I swear there's more ex-Scientologists than current Scientologists right now. Like their number is
Oh,
so small.
definitely, definitely.
There must
I
be,
agree
right? There
with,
must be.
and it's multiplying every single day. That's the other
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
that's the thing that they can't stop. See, they
yeah.
can't stop that.
Right.
Now, Alex kind of disagrees with me. He says, I agree Amir should start a channel, but I really want to stress healing first. No pressure to become an activist, Amir. Focus on recovery first. And when you're ready, start a channel. Okay, now I agree with him, obviously. I mean, you've got to heal.
For
But
sure.
part of my healing was my YouTube was videos because it
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
I
yeah,
was able to say stuff that I could never say in Scientology. And it was just so healing to be
yeah,
able to say it and
yeah,
know
yeah.
that. And remember, this was in 2000, so it wasn't like there were thousands of people watching,
Mhm.
but there actually were. I just didn't know it. I thought there were maybe 50 people, that kind of thing.
For
And
sure.
and it's still just like you're saying, you love Mark Bunker's videos, and some of those I'm in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And those were from 2000. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But it's kind of like that's the cool thing about it. And your passion, this is my thing, is like I knew I was passionate right then more than ever because I
yeah.
was out and I was free. And so I thought, all right, what are the important things that I need to tell people that they don't know? And
Mm.
I mean, a lot of stuff came out because of that. I mean, I've made over 1,000 videos. So I'm not saying you have to do that, but you
No,
could
no, for
just
sure.
pick
I
a
know.
few. Yeah, just
Yeah, no, yeah,
important things. And
for
then the
sure.
rest of it's healing. I mean, obviously you have to keep healing. But to me, posting saying stuff and knowing people could have access to it really helped me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. A shout out to Alex, by the way, for the comment. But yeah, totally. I completely agree with you, Tory. I'll tell you something that I feel helped me for sure. Just decompressing from the whole thing.
Right.
Talking to you, talking to Alex, talking to many other people on the phone for just a few hours or something, and just just getting every 4 years off, just
Right.
everything comes out of your tongue, all the emotions, all your thoughts, where your head is at, just spewing everything to that person. Janice has been amazing for that. A
Right.
lot of people have been amazing. Just good listeners, and also giving advice when you kind of need advice.
Right.
But for something just as something that helped me personally, phone calls have been a big thing for sure.
Sure.
Phone calls been a
Sure.
really big thing, and just talking to people about the whole, because then you know it's like you also talk to people that know what the hell you're talking about and understand you, and they get it, and they've went through shit, and they can give advice, and they know where you're coming from, and
Right.
so that's been a big thing for sure, is talking to people on the phone, and meeting with people and whatnot.
It's so great, Amir. I'm so
Yeah,
proud of you. I really am. And
thank you.
Alex also mentioned don't I feel the same. It's like we don't want to I don't want to pressure you. If you don't
Oh no,
want to
not at
do
all.
it, don't do it.
For
But
sure. For sure.
I'm just telling you what helped me as someone who was in for 30 years and
Yeah.
wasn't going to speak out at all. But then I thought, if I can help one person, and every time someone says, I saw your videos and I didn't join Scientology because of it, and that really
Yeah.
means a lot. I mean, it's like really a lot, and
Yeah.
and and it makes everything worthwhile. Someone wrote me something the other night on uh, a video, and it was
Yeah.
just unbelievable. I read it to my son. I said, "Listen to this." I mean, it was
Mm,
just so sweet. It really was. And she was just saying how
yeah,
important it is what I'm doing because of the young kids. And that's how I feel about you, because your age especially. I mean, mine somehow I work even though I'm old. It works out. But
yeah.
you would be right on the money, and especially because you were on TikTok.
Oh, I mean, it's their fault. I mean, like I imagine you go out of your way, you take shit every day, because if you're posting online trying to defend them, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna go through a lot of stuff. But you take shit every single day, and then you do a video with a guy, and you don't attack them, and you get to communicate what you believe to be true and right. And then the next day you go in for the next 2 weeks, you get screwed over. People start blocking you. People kick you out of group chats because they think you've gone over to the dark side. People disown you, and they think that you're the absolute scum of the earth because you spoke
Yeah.
to this guy.
And
I
it's
mean,
frightening how quick it is.
what
It's
the
like
fuck did you think I
overnight.
was gonna do? What did you think I was gonna? You think I'm gonna take that? No,
And that's
it's
the other thing. I'm a sec checker. So,
right. Oh
where you're
God.
supposed to be able to find people's
Oh,
secrets and overts and things, I had to get trained in it to do the co-auditing I was going to do.
yeah,
And I started realizing, now wait a minute, if I'm so evil, why didn't they find out in 30 years? Right?
yeah,
And why
yeah.
don't they, the people that are still in, question that? I mean, if
Mm,
Amir or I, either one of us, are so bad, why didn't Scientology find out about it if they're so great?
yeah,
The fact
yeah.
is they're not great, and
Mm,
they're not good at what they do.
mhm,
That's the
mhm.
way it is.
Absolutely.
Now,
They did a hell of a job at at a certain point of convincing me because, obviously we talked about stress tests and we talked about personality tests, but they also have IQ tests. And you do a course, you do an IQ, you do an IQ test, you compare from before, you go up a few points, and it's like whoop-de-doo, oh my God, he's getting smarter. And LRH says that your IQ can go up, but they have a lot of businesses as well. And when you're there, for me, I can only speak for myself, but they did a hell of a job at convincing me that they are very clever intellectuals that have studied philosophy and they know about life and they know how to run a successful business and they make very, very good income and whatnot. Um, but they're really not smart. They're like when you look and assess situations you were in and conversations you had, like and there's whole terminology about a person is not a person's a wog. You're talking to a
right.
wog, a non-Scientologist, and you're not having a conversation with a person. You're having a comm cycle. I'm gonna have a comm cycle with this guy. Just they're
Now,
really
that's the thing the kids are going to learn. So explain what the negative is on that.
you get caught. Scientology has a language called Scientologies, and you end up learning all this terminology. And in the new golden age of children, there's a few books and a few courses. One of them is communication drills. And that is like the foundation of a lot of stuff. If a new person walks in and you do a personality test, if a teenager walks in and he does a personality test, if you do a stress test, if a kid, if a, an adult brings in his son and his son's quite shy, a lot of the time they're like, personality test, personality. You need a personality test. Sorry, and communications course. You need a communications course. You have to do the comm course. And it's very, if you know about the communications course and the drills that you have to do, it is horrifying. And when you know that a kid has to do that and learn about it, like for example, if you think just for something just to think with, David Miscavige, on the 14th of March for the new for the L. Ron Hubbard's birthday event, has released the new Golden Age of Children, and one of the courses is the communications course for kids. Okay, so kids are going to be introduced to this. Would you ever have your kids sitting opposite another kid 3 feet apart, having to stare at each other for 2 hours and do absolutely nothing? Or would you have your kids take shit, bull baiting, just they can tolerate taking crap until they don't react at all, until they're complete stone cold? Would you have your kids repeat a command, do birds fly, do fish fly, and deviate from questions, keep people on track from things, and do it, have a supervisor watching over them? There's so many drills, and when you look at the origin of the drills and the hypnosis, and you look at the somatics that you go through, the physiological things, the hallucinations of seeing things, um, it's very abusive, and they don't know what they're doing. Like their dad just says, "Son, I've got something that might be able to help you," and they're down for it. They just they don't know what they're getting themselves, and they can't consent to it. So it brings me back to this education and just knowing what this stuff is and knowing what you're getting yourself into and the origins of this whole thing. Um, when I had to study this stuff, there's policies. There's a course called Staff TRs, and there's a policy called Training Drills Remodernized, where L. Ron Hubbard talks about the origin of all this stuff. I'm trying to make auditors, but this guy just couldn't be there comfortably. So then I had to create this thing where he could sit with his eyes closed for 2 hours. Then we could move him on to, like, but that's not the real origin. The real origin is, there's a lot of hypnosis behind it, and LRH stayed with Jack Parsons, and he practiced a lot of, black magic and a lot of weird stuff.
Right.
So it's just having that education of what you're doing and what you're practicing and where it comes from, and getting both sides of the story. And if what to take from this is look at both sides. When Donald Trump gets up and says fake news, don't listen to this news, don't listen to these guys, it's like, why can't I listen to these guys? Why can't I listen to what this person has to say? Why can't I listen to what that person, like, why can't I listen to everybody and make a judgment on something? Why do
Right.
why is everything fake? Why is it don't
Right.
listen? Like Scientologists would say, that's a load of shit. Why would you listen to this critic? It's like this PR method that people use to just cancel out the noise or something. But if you can just have the quality of being a very curious person and being just a seeker of knowledge in general and wanting to know both sides of the street and what they're saying, I think that's a very valuable thing to have, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's my 2 cents on it.
And the tricky thing is being the devil's advocate. It's like, okay, I remember them saying to me, because I was like, why are people sitting around staring at each other? And they said, well, they're not staring at each other, Tori. You have to look at confront. Look at what that means, because they're
Yeah.
really confronting each other. And so, again, that's the language of Scientology where they kind of twist the word around, and you're like, oh, okay, so that makes it okay. It isn't really, it is someone sitting and staring at you. But
Yeah.
because they say it's confronting, which is facing anything comfortably, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And it's sort of like they have a way of like bull baiting. It's like that's just so you can take any shit that comes your way, and you're not going to
Mm,
react to it. Okay,
yeah.
it sounds
Yeah.
good, but what is it really doing?
Yeah.
Underneath it, what's really happening? And that's the thing that parents have to really study, because if you're going to put your kids in it, like Amir said, they don't have a choice. They
Mm,
can't say, "No, I don't want to do that, Dad." And now, from what I've listened to that video, they're
mm,
all excited about it, which is the peer pressure again. I'm
mm.
going to be the first one to do the books, to do all 8 books. Now, how frightening is that, to have your kid not be interested in playing? They want to do the Scientology children's books.
Mm, yeah, yeah. They would have
Ugh.
all been broke. They would have all been broke after that event, because I know exactly what happens. You go in, you watch the event in your local organization. As soon as you walk out, you have to fill out a survey, and then you've got a whole stand of all the sets and all the books, and you've got 10 regs, 10 salespeople who are like, Let's get you signed up. Come on, let's buy this
Right,
package. Buy the books. But do I really need
right,
all of them? Yep. Come on, let's buy the books. We've got our quotas. We need to make our quotas. Woo! So they would have all been buying the sets and been broke out. They would have, the Sea Org and all the staff would have had all their individual quotas, where they would have had to sell to all of the public and stuff. And then you've all got all the stands when they come out of the hall, and they've set up, the triangle and some books and stuff. And then, they would have been pressured into making so much money from that new
right,
release.
right. They always have
uh,
to come up with new releases. That's their thing.
I know, I know, I
So,
know. But by far, for me, the biggest cash flow generator I've ever seen in the 4 years I was there, um, was the IES stuff. Like that's a different ballgame.
yeah, that's a
That's a
different
different league.
ballgame.
That's a different league. That's a
Yeah.
different league. IES
And
stuff
it's
is
frightening. It's frightening to see how, I mean, I remember Tony Ortega posting this guy who gave $500 million to the IAS. And you just think, what is this person thinking? There's so many things that could be done to help mankind. And what is Scientology doing? Nothing. Nothing.
mm,
Let me say it again. Nothing, Osa. They're
yeah,
not doing anything. The only thing they try to do is PR, which they're absolutely failing at.
yeah.
So, all right. So now it says question. This
Oh,
is from
questions. Let's go.
Odin Arts. When people coming over to Florida from overseas for training, what contracts do they sign?
That's a good question. You have to sign for 5 years. If you're a staff member, you have to sign for 5 years. So,
Okay.
um, to do any training at Flag, to go to St. Hill and do some training, you have to sign a 5-year contract. Um, and that's only, that 5-year contract starts when you get back from the training as well.
Right.
But there's a lot of Sea Org members, part of the, members of the Sea organization that go and they get selected or whatever for that training. And those guys, sign for their lives. You hear the famous billion-year contract. About the Sea Org contract, you have 21-year leave of absence. Because you sign, you obviously you have to handle what you have to handle, you give away all your property, you make sure you've sold all your belongings, you obviously, join, you go through the proper routing and whatnot, you obviously live your life as a member, and then you pass away, and per policy, you have 21-year leave of absence. So for 21 years, you're good. But then at 21, you got to rejoin the Sea organization to
But
keep
no one
fulfilling.
does. No one has.
I
No one
wonder
has.
why.
LRH didn't come back.
There you go. There you go. He's
Right.
on another planet, Tory. He's on another planet. Come on. Target
All
2.
right. Stay there. All right. Now here's apostate Alex. They kick out the people they want to stay and keep people in who
Who
want to
want to
leave.
leave? Yeah. Yeah. It's very true, Alex. It's very true.
All right.
Um, so a lot of psychological abuse, and I never there's guys that got slapped around by COB, by David Miscavige, and there's guys that got punched in the face and kicked and beaten and whatnot. Um, I never went through anything like that, but what I can very, very well speak about is the psychological abuse. There's a lot of
Right.
psychological about staying and who leaves, and there's a lot at stake. And I was very fortunate that I didn't have family, so there wasn't any reason for me to stay. Like I
Right.
went, I did my part, I tried to defend them for what I believed was right, and then I just got many people blocked me, and then I got treated like shit, and then I was like, peace out. Fuck. I'm out
Bye.
of here. I'm completely out of here. I'm done with this whole thing.
it it is
But
amazing how they create enemies, isn't it?
oh my God, it amazes me. Still to this day, it amazes me. I mean, like L. Ron Hubbard's auditor, David Mayo, became a declared suppressive person.
Right.
Huh? Senior CS? What?
Yeah,
What?
he was like
But
the head guy for anybody who doesn't know.
yeah,
Or, at the top of the triangle was David Mayo, who was also head of tech at the time.
senior case
Because he
supervisor,
wrote
right?
me a 6-page letter. Did you know that?
I didn't. Wow. Wow, wow,
Now, what
wow. What did he
happened
say?
is someone asked me, when are you going to go clear? And I
Yeah.
said, really, next lifetime, because I have epilepsy. And I believed in the first definition of Dianetics, which was a perfect memory, a perfect IQ, no somatics, no pains. And
Yeah.
I said, that I don't go along with it. They changed the definition. It's like, that's the definition. That's what
Yeah.
Hubbard said. And I can't do it. And they said, write to David Mayo. So I wrote to David Mayo, who was the head guy at the time.
Hmm.
And he said, it sounds like you need a PTS handling. And I wrote him back and I said, that's your fucking answer? I was so pissed. I said, you're the senior CS on the planet? And all you can say to me is the same stuff that all these other morons here in Los Angeles have been saying to me for years? I'm
Mm-hmm.
amazed. And I
Wow.
signed my name. And he wrote me a 6-page handwritten letter, which sometime I'll read it, but it was
Yeah.
like basically saying, you know, yes, you need your medication. No, they shouldn't have taken you off of it. If you have any trouble going up to OT3, come to Flag. I will help you get up it personally. And he did. And he
That's a
said,
big
and
deal.
I know, and he said, I know there's some morons that are in LA because I've heard about it. So come to
Wow.
Flag. And so I went to Flag and I did do it from there. But it was really, I felt really proud that I took him
Wow.
on, and he wrote me back. He answered
You
me.
stood your ground. That's a big deal. I mean, David Mayo he would audit LRH and he would be
Right,
the CS for LRH. And there was a point where Ron wasn't doing too well and he was in bed. And
right,
David Mayo was called over to go and assist and just help and also
right.
develop solo knots, like your confidential OT levels as well. This is like for him to offer that is a very, very big deal, to say
I
the
know,
least. You
I know.
know,
I thought it was like, oh, and I haven't. All right, now Kathy just became a new member, so thank you, Kathy.
wow, shout out to
There you
Kathy.
go. There you go. Thank you.
Wow.
All right. And here's the next question for you. Speaking out is important, but healing comes first. Amir. Okay, this is from Alex. I think we already read this. And I totally agree with them on focusing on healing.
Likewise.
And you're going to
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you're going to know what's right for you. That's all. I'm just giving you a suggestion
for sure.
as far as doing a little bit, but it's totally up to you. And
Tory, let
it's
me ask
what's
you a
in your
question.
heart.
Let me ask you a very quick question, right? When you left, there's obviously a lot of shit in your mind, and to say the least, right? Was there any habits or anything you got into or anything that you did to try and decompress or try and cope with things or try get things off your chest? Just was there anything that you found to be quite successful when you
Okay, two
left?
things. Number one, I read books for
Yeah,
10 years before I left.
yeah.
So I went into libraries and bookstores and I would just look around and I would go to self improvement, healing, religion, all kinds of different things. And if I saw something that caught my eye, I would look through it. And if it had stuff that sounded good, I'd buy it. And I
Mm,
read it. And my husband would make fun of me all the time. He'd say, oh, another one of your secret library books. And I'd say, yeah, it is.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
just stuck to it. And so that was a big part of it, was reading all those books, because
Mm,
they're still I really think they helped strip off a lot of the mind control,
mm,
because they put in facts. Do you see what I mean? And
yeah,
and it's things that you go, oh, I thought this, but this is, you know what I mean? And this is 1,000-year-old concept. Anyway,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
one thing I did. The other thing was journaling, writing in my journal, which I've done since I was 13. and I
Yeah.
still do. I write all the time. And it's very, for me, it's very helpful. I heard a guy out at UCLA talk about it, and he said, just think of it like emptying out your head. Just open up the book and start writing because you'll get to a point where you don't have anything else to say. And
Mm,
that's if you just kind of do it every few days, it's for me, it's been very, very healing. So those are the
wow.
two habits that I would say: read
Mm,
and read new books, not just ex-Scientology books, but
yeah.
also there's a lot of fantastic books out there on healing and
Yeah.
I'm always looking for people that are educators that are good at teaching people how to heal. And there's a
Mm,
bunch of them. There's a lot of people that I like. I should write them down so I can tell you. I will
yeah.
as I see them.
Yeah.
But
No,
anyway,
that's really good. It's a good show. I mean, funnily enough, a few people have said you should maybe start writing things down in a journal. Um, Reading is definitely a big part. Reading is because like I would like read poems and I would read stories and I would read philosophical things, and what it does is it kind of gets you thinking. It kind of gets the
right,
cogs going. It just gets you because you just
exactly,
it's not like it's always telling you what to do, but it just gets you. I mean, it literally, I think Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was Marcus Aurelius writing in his journal, and you just
right,
get an idea of his thoughts. But it just
right.
anything that gets you asking questions on why that is and why that was, and how that happened, and how that came to be and whatnot. I think it's pretty good just to get you asking the right questions. Um, there was a tremendous poem that I read, a sonnet called Ozymandias, which was a very, very emotional read for sure. But reading has definitely been a very important thing just to get you asking the right questions and to get you thinking about things and how that is. So, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
But I just like asking that question.
A big one for me, and this is
Yeah,
just one of hundreds because I read for 10 years while I
yeah,
was in. I wasn't reading ex-Scientology things. It was just books on healing and
yeah.
philosophy and psychology and all kinds of stuff. But one of them said, list out the 50 people that you admire the most. And
Oh, wow.
so I just took it, listed out my 50 people,
Mm,
and at the end, I looked at it and I went, and this was a part of me thinking, because when you're in a brainwashed cult,
yeah,
that's their first thing is to stop you from thinking.
for sure.
Because if
Yeah.
you think or talk to each other, you can wake each other up. So I listed
Yeah.
out the 50 people and then I looked at them and I realized, oh my God, not one of them was a Scientologist. And that was a big, you see what I mean? Like some things are bigger for you than for me. But for me, that was a big thing because
I'm
I was a
surprised you never
big,
put, I'm very surprised you didn't put David Miscavige as the first name.
I left. I left because of David Miscavige. I wouldn't have left. I didn't ever read anything about Hubbard, so I didn't know. I
Yeah.
just went along with the program. But Miscavige drove me out. He really pissed me off. And I saw him in
Yeah.
person. I saw him in person where my friend who worked in
Mm.
the restaurant he was in saw that he didn't like a fork. And he said, would you like a new fork, Mr. Miscavige? And he said, I don't like that guy's tone level. Get him out of here. Put him on the RPF. And my friend
Psychotic.
went from being a waiter to the RPF to dead.
Just a complete dictator. Just a
I know.
complete dictator. You look
Really?
at he's really fascinating. I mean, can I be honest? I actually cried when I read Ron Miscavige's book Ruthless because Ron talks about this little boy David who has asthma and he would have asthmatic attacks and he would try all sorts of stuff to help his son. And he would try, if David was going to have an asthmatic attack, he would take him to the backyard and they would start lifting weights because just, I don't know, something about lifting weights gets the attention on that instead, and it's some sort of survival
Oh,
mechanism. So they would try,
oh,
or David would have an asthmatic attack, or it would be coming on, and Ron would pick him up, put him in the bathtub, and put cold water, the shower on, and it's like
ooh,
that shock or something would just make it go away. So you he takes you through David as a kid, and I don't know. Maybe he was a bright kid who became an auditor at 14, became a minister, was doing all this stuff, had a really, really big win when he was introduced to Dianetics about his asthma. And according to Ron Sr., he never had a severe asthmatic attack for many, many, many years after because of this Dianetic session. But then you look at David's rise to power, and you look at he was a ruthless bastard, and he would just get shit done, and he would do, there is very much this Machiavellian thing of divide and conquer and turning people on themselves, and turning Mary Sue Hubbard on her husband, turning L. Ron Hubbard's counselor David Mayo, saying that this guy can't be fucking trusted, turning this
right,
guy on this guy, and nobody can trust anybody. And
right,
there's really this divide and conquer thing. And then David has an asthmatic attack, a major asthmatic attack, and his dad, Ron Sr., comes, and David says, Dad, I had a cognition. I had a realization, just a sudden realization. Power is not given to you, power is assumed. And then from that moment, and then he becomes fucking chairman of the board. And then
right,
you hear, everyone knows the stories about the whole camps, people licking the floor, punching, kicking, beatings, meetings, stories about how for every meeting, COB, chairman of the board, would have a closed bottle of water, a new pack of cigarettes, and a new pack of gum because of the fear that someone might poison him. And there is and you and but you look at that and then you think, doesn't that remind you of Joseph Stalin? Doesn't that remind you of this, like, the rise to power and the camps and the paranoia? I can't trust my staff. I can't trust this guy. I can't trust this guy, and the complete dictatorship and the lack of free speech. It really reminds you of Joseph Stalin. And then at the end of the book, Ron Sr. says, despite all of this stuff, despite David's, you know, putting private investigators on me, and despite David, saying that he was at one point allowing me to die because I could have, dropped his phone, and he could have had, there was this thing about if he was having a heart attack or not. He says, I forgive
his
my son, and
bodyguards called him and said he's having a heart attack. What
he's
should
having
we
a heart
do?
attack. And
He
David
said,
was
let him
like,
go.
let him go. Like, don't do it, don't
Yeah,
intervene. But the thing is, Ron says at the end of the book, I forgive my son. David, I forgive you. And after all that build up, I was just like, fuck. I was like, your son's done that to you. And then you're just like, before you pass away, I forgive you, son. That I don't know. I don't know. That really hurt reading all of that stuff. And just reading these books, like you know how you were reading all the books, and I would be the same. I'd be reading these books, and when you hear stuff like that, it's really painful. It's really and that's kind of added a purpose for me when you do these videos and you get the word out there, and then you can provide families with updates about relatives, and people are like, yeah, my mother just stopped speaking to me. Or one guy told me that his mother sat down with him, and his mother said, son, my job in this lifetime is to be your FSM, not your mother. Could you fucking believe that?
wow,
A mom said that to a
wow,
son. Like, this is serious
wow.
shit. You know, that is, you don't fuck around with that. I mean, like,
And
this is
FSM, for anybody who doesn't know, is a field staff member. They're not on staff, but
yeah.
they get a percentage of whatever they can get you in. They get a 20% uh, money.
Yeah, I mean, if I am working with a guy and I said, "Hey Joe, I've got, this thing, and I've got this course that might help you. Why don't you come with me and we can, I'll introduce you to it." And he's like, "All right, cool." And he signs up for this course. Bang, I get 10% commission. I'm your
Right.
FSM. For me, Tom Cruise was my FSM because I heard of
Uh-huh.
it from him. No, seriously, like Tom Cruise, I heard of it from him, and I walked in because of him, and I was very fascinated by the whole thing, and I was curious about what he was. So he was literally my FSM, and then also when I assumed the position of the heads of the HCO executive secretary, I saw all the FSM commissions, and Grant
Right.
Cardone was getting a lot of FSM commissions because people
Sure.
were, we were talking about Tamper Bad, and we were talking about that podcast. Tamper Bad, who's a big donor now, who has his own business, he's doing well for himself, who stays in Clearwater, Florida, and he donates a lot of money to Scientology. How did he hear of it? Grant Cardone. So Grant Cardone gets a lot of FSM commissions. Not that he needs it at all, but he
No.
does. He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot. It's good to educate people on that.
Yeah.
There he is.
That's there he is. That's
There's
Tampa
Tampa
Brad.
Brad.
Right.
Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
that's right. Holding
All
the
right. Now,
AARC book.
have you, 49ers for Life asked if you've seen The Master, the movie The
Yeah,
Master.
big time. I love it. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson directed that film, and apparently he actually screened it to Tom Cruise out of respect. Um, that Tory, have you seen The Master? Because it's a
I
hell of a film. Hell of a film. Um, about LRH and obviously to avoid because everything is fucking trademarked in Scientology. So
right,
they didn't use Scientology, they used the name The Cause. And they didn't
right,
use L. Ron Hubbard, they used Lancaster Dodds. And there was small changes and there was things that inspired PTA to obviously make that film about veterans coming back from the war and looking for perhaps things that would help with their mental health, things that would perhaps kind of give them a purpose in life. And then LRH comes in the 50s talking about Dianetics, the modern science of mental health and whatnot, and all these promises. And you've got a big role of how important Mary Sue was to the operation of everything and the ship and how charismatic LRH was and his storytelling ability, and why people might have been drawn to that, and why people might have been drawn to LRH and that larger than life character as well. So it's an amazing film. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've seen it. I've seen it a few times.
okay,
Yeah.
good, 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 good. All right, now this is the next one. This is from Love It 7484, and it says, "Doesn't the UK have certain privacy laws C of S is breaking?"
Yeah, yeah, I would say so for sure. All I'll say about that is I'm working on it. But there, you'd be
Ah,
surprised. You'd be surprised how much they get up to and how many laws they're breaking. You'd be very surprised. It's very deep.
they've been doing it here, and we have a lady named Audit LA. Have you ever watched her videos or anything?
You did a video with her, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. But
Yes, that's right.
she's been going down to City Hall, and I mean, she has dramatically changed how Scientology is operating in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
dramatically. It's just amazing. And
yeah.
it, I mean, she stood at the end of the street. She's in a wheelchair, and we're there, and this security guard comes out and she goes, "Get off the street. You're not allowed on here. These people are protesting and they have their rights." And it was like,
Mm,
all right, she's
yeah,
really strong, very strong. So
yeah.
it's,
And Mark Bunker's also running right now, isn't he?
yes, he is.
Yeah,
That's his new thing. He's going to run for office for city council in Clearwater, which is
yeah,
very important because per him, if he doesn't make it, the rest of them are going to be Scientologists that are
yeah,
in there. There's not going to be any ex-Scientologists.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so thank you for letting us know that. So you do have laws and you're kind of working on them, but not really.
There you go.
Okay, now wait. Okay, question. Amir, have you been able to have a good cry over how you were treated?
Oh wow, Amy, that's a hell of a question. That's a really fucking good question. I've cried over many things, many things. Not once have I cried about leaving though. Um, I've been really angry and pissed off that I would go out and stick my neck on the line and try and defend them, only to be stabbed in the back and treated like shit. So there's a great feeling of anger there. Where I've cried is other things, and where I've cried is other people's stories. Guys that I've spoken to, I've cried, if someone's seen one of these videos and they were like, Amir, you wore a freedom top on one of your interviews, and then encouraged me to wear a top saying you can leave, or Amir, what you said about what's going on with children right now and what I went through as a minor staff member or a minor Sea Org member, I then had to do something. Like when you hear stuff like that, when you hear you creating an effect, and also when you hear about people that reach out to you privately behind the scenes and they just want to tell you their story and tell you what they
Right.
went through,
Right.
and you hear some stuff that you really give you goosebumps, stuff that you didn't even think happened.
Right.
Um, that for sure has definitely made me cry for sure. I've definitely had some good cries, and I found it to be a tremendous release from
Good.
a lot of stuff.
Good.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah,
I think I cried for 2 years, not about Scientology, but
yeah,
about losing my husband. And it was just every time I'd walk into a place we used to hang out, I would just burst out crying. And what I did to handle it, because people would get really worried and they'd say, "Are you okay?"
mm,
And I'd say, I'm fine." And I set up what I called the meltdown committee. And it was
yeah,
four people who knew they'd been through what I'd been through.
yeah,
And they agreed, except for Bob Minton, who hadn't been in, but he
mm,
agreed that I could call him anytime. And all four of
awesome.
them agreed I could call him any time of the day or night. So I
Yeah,
would. And one time I was on my way. I found all my videos that I had made. I'd made tons of videos interviewing people at Flag, staff, all my friends, all the kids, all kinds of really cool videos. They were
yeah,
all empty. And I found
mm,
them. They deleted them all. And I was on my way over to Scientology, to their big executive center, to just
yeah,
scream at them. I was just going to stand outside and scream, "I want my fucking videos." And
mm,
I thought, luckily, I got this Homer Simpson bubble. Tory, this is exactly what they want. And they
yeah,
will put you on a 5150 and lock you up. And
yeah,
then it's going to be toast from there. So I
yeah,
called my friend and she said, "All right, turn the car around," because I was just hysterical. And she said,
mm,
"Turn the car around and get over to my house." And she walked me through it and I got out of it. But it
awesome,
really helps to have some people that already know who you are and where you are. You can always call me if you want to call me, but we're at
for
different time
sure.
zones. So it helps to get a
I
few
know.
people that are in your time zone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the community is absolutely unbelievable. So there's no short of time zones and people from different countries to talk to.
Good.
Do you know a really, really kind of thing that I had to come to grips with was th when I left, there was because I had to leave my education at one point to become a full-time executive. And there was a point where my chiropractor was a Scientologist because I was doing, sports and I had some back problems and stuff. So,
Right.
and then there was also a time where my income sources were from Scientologists, from their businesses and stuff like that. And as soon as I publicly left and started speaking about my treatment and what I had to undergo just for trying to defend them, you obviously I got kicked out of every single group chat, all in a oneer. Um, and I also like everyone started blocking me on WhatsApp and stuff. And I was just like, huh, that kind of
Again,
hurts. But then you come to grips with like, if someone was your real friend, your true
right,
friend, and you said something bad about what you went through, or well, it's not really saying something bad. You say something that goes against what Scientologists believe, and you say something that you went through. But when you say it publicly, and it's like per policy, it's a high crime to publicly leave Scientology,
right,
and you see these guys who you've known for years immediately just disown you, you
right,
know, that kind of hurts. But then when you
yeah,
come to the realization that, well, they can't have been my real friends because
right.
I say one thing about it and it's like, fuck you. So
Right.
then, that was something I had to come to grips with, was like, there's guys that you might have admired or loved in some kind of way, or guys you would have went out with and had a good time with. But then one comment, bang, they're out of your life. And it's like,
Gone.
you got to come to grips with that guy. You just have to say, like, that wasn't a real friend or something. So that was like
Right.
something I had to learn.
Right.
Um,
I know.
but yeah,
I had, thankfully, I knew Andreas, who I met
yeah,
online. I never met him in person for a while. I finally flew over there and met him. But
yeah,
he was the one who said to me, because I was crying for like 4 hours, and he said, Tory, I've got to. I called him because who am I going to call? When you first leave, you don't
yeah,
really know anybody, and everybody you know is in. And so I called Andreas, or I wrote him and said, I don't know what to do. If I leave, I'm going to lose every friend I have and my husband of 26 years.
yeah.
And he wrote me back and he said, I'm crying reading your email. I'm so
Mm,
sorry you're having to go through this, but I have to ask you this question. What kind of friends could those be if they're going to leave you because you change your mind? And that's
yeah,
the thing. If people are listening to this and you're in, you've got to think about it, because that is a
yeah,
key reason people stay is their friends. But if they're
yeah.
going to leave you, like Amir is saying, like that, which happened to me too, and everybody else who left, what kind of friends could those be?
Mm.
Not really good friends.
It's a deep thought, and it's an important thing to think about. Just briefly, as those comments were coming up, I totally agree with what Alex was saying about Scientology always is numero uno. Scientology comes first. Scientology comes without a doubt in your marriage, in your relationships, with your friendships, PR wise, with the media. Scientology comes first.
Until you wake up.
Until you wake up, right? Until you wake up. But no one should be able to no one should go through that psychological abuse of
Yeah.
you know uh, of the shit that you have to go through with those relationships and with the organization getting involved in your personal life like that, like, so it's just that education.
And Scientology parents, listen to Amir and really think about it before you put these kids through these children's books that I'm sure they look very innocent, because that's what they want, is to be able to get them roped in. But
Yeah,
it is the beginning of their mind control. And it's like you have to learn. Just type in Google mind control and start learning about it. And then
yeah,
ask yourself some questions. Look at both sides. If you can't look at both sides, how can it be freedom? It can't.
yeah,
It
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
All right, now here's another one from Apostate Alex.
yeah.
Most of the
Alex is on
people
fire with the comments.
I know with Hubbard were declared. Does that mean he never noticed all the SPs?
Most of the people who works with Hubbard were declared. Yeah, does that mean? Yeah, I mean, isn't that just hilarious? Like, okay, if we want to look at things logically here, you've got the
Right,
stuff with LRH for sure. Look at
right.
look at COB though. Look at David Miscavige. Let's take a look at who worked with the guy, right? Who were his subordinates? Who closely worked with him? Who reported to him? Who lived at the base with him? Who was around him every day? Who had meetings with him? Who traveled with him? Let's just take a look and let's get multiple witnesses and multiple sources on the whole thing. We're not going to take one person's word for it, okay? Look at his sisters are no longer part of it. His dad escaped. His mother-in-law escaped. His brother left. His niece is speaking out against it online and everything. His whole family have left. He's the only one left in it. Well, I wouldn't call him his friends, but the Inspector General Marty Rathbun had, came out and started speaking about David. Tom DeVocht, who, they would sit down and they would have whiskey and Dave would just talk to him about. All these guys have left. All these guys that worked closely with David have
Right.
left, including the most important thing, his family and his dad's. The most important thing. They've all left, and not just left, they fucking escaped. They had to, for months, they had to plan it and escape. Imagine your dad has to plan his escape from his son. Doesn't that speak
Yeah.
for itself, you know?
Yeah.
So it just it speaks for itself. And it's the same with LRH. His wife, what happened with Mary Sue, taking the fall for her husband and going to prison and doing these crazy operations. And then he's like, I'm not associated with that anymore. And he has to back off. And then, his son Nibs. And you look at the family and your friends, if they I don't even know if friend is the right word, to be honest. But you look at multiple sources and people that worked with them and their family and stuff, and you start to put a picture together, and it's like it seems. I never worked with Ron, and I've seen David a few times. I never worked with COB though, but it seems to live with that level of paranoia and that level of being on the run and running from law enforcement and having multiple people talk out against you. It seems to be a very lonely thing. It seems to be a very isolated, lonely, a very lonely life. And I don't know, maybe there's
Especially after all the people that were cool left, like Tom Duvall. It's like,
these guys are awesome, and they're very bright people, and look at what
right.
they accomplished for the organization, and look
Yeah.
what Mike did, and the lengths that Mike did just to go and to defend these guys as well. Um, but I don't know, maybe they get a high. Their only high is from when they go out and deliver these events and they get a 10-minute standing ovation. I don't know, but it strikes me as a very isolated and lonely life to not have any friends or family and to have
Sure.
so many people. You know,
And even if you do have friends and family, it's
yeah,
still kind of lonely because if you leave, they're going to leave.
yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
it's sort of it's really a tricky thing. It's very
For
very
sure.
much because of mind control. Now, Love
Yeah.
It again asks, has it been hard losing the C of S language for you?
Love it. You have no fucking idea. Oh my God. Like it I had a conversation with someone about this very recently, and the way they put it was like if you're fluent in Spanish and then you for whatever reason try just to get rid of it, whatever, it's like you know it so well, you speak it fluently, you've been speaking it for years, you know it inside out, front to back, you know the words, the definition of the words. It's like it's really hard. Tori, you know very well, right, how hard it is to lose the lingo.
Well, I was lucky in that Spanky and I started hanging around together. She'd been in a celebrity center and knew
Yeah,
the language very well. So every time I would say a word, she would say, Tori, she started out by saying, you sound like a Martian. Nobody's going to know
yeah,
what you're talking about. So
yeah,
every time I would say a Scientology word, she would say, all right, stop, think about it. How do you say it in English?
yeah,
And so I, through the years, I've been doing that and I've gotten much better at not using the language because of that. I make myself stop. How do you say
yeah,
it in English? And then think about it
yeah.
because that's a way to strip it off. But I know
Must be.
it's difficult. It is.
Yeah, I was just thinking right now, like it must be worse for someone that was born into it and then someone that didn't go to school and they were growing up, as a Sea Org member, as a cadet, or they were growing up and their education was being in a Scientology course room, and that's all they know is the language and the lingo. And plus, Aaron Hubbard redefined definition. Like there is a definition for in and out. In
Oh
tech,
yeah.
out tech. There's a
Right.
definition for in and out. There's like common words that we use every day. There's a definition for it, and
Right.
the way that you use it is different to how it's actually used. Like I never realized how big of a deal semantics was and just the meaning of words and stuff until I got involved with that. But it is a gradual process of decompressing
Yeah.
and trying to lose a lot of the words. I'm not an executive anymore. I'm not half running the organization anymore, so it's a lot easier. But there's a lot of stuff that might take a while to brush off.
Right. Yeah. It takes a while. It does. There's no question because
Yeah.
it's like it's built in. But the
Yeah.
more you work on it, the more you can do it. You can,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and it'll help decrease the mind control. The more
Yeah,
you change it. That's why for me, I
it's
figured
true.
I was like so in it, I had to change it.
Mm,
And so I really worked on it hard. But I still,
awesome.
it is their language is, some of the words. Even I went to work at a place, and my boss loved the word DevT, which is diverted traffic. But everyone was DevTing him, so I taught him that word. And every time it would happen, I'd go like this, and he'd go. He said, "I love that word," because it really explains someone interrupting an executive and what they should be doing. It's like
Mm,
all putting all kinds of junk on their lines. Anyway, here's another
yeah.
one from Antics of a Mama Squirrel. Amir, are
Wow.
you doing incredibly well? Amir, you are doing incredibly well. Your ability to reach so many is so great. Be proud of myself for speaking out. I agree. I agree. I'm
Wow.
really proud of
That's
you. I'm
awesome.
really,
Tori, do you know who
yeah,
that is? Who do you know who Antics is?
I do.
Awesome. What's in fact, you know what, I'm not gonna say their name. Shout out to them. That's a very lovely comment though, for sure.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is. And
yeah,
and you
it's
have
a
done a lot. I mean, it's so great.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I agree. You're trying to reach as many people as possible and just to get rid of the abuse. Okay, that's the most important thing is just, people don't deserve to be treated like that at all and to, continue to go through that on a daily basis is just getting rid of that level of abuse, and spreading the word and educating people on the subject, I think is so, so important. I think the whole idea of just think for yourself and get all the facts. I mean, even in the data series, in the data, evaluator series course, right? Ellen Hubbard's like, get all the facts, but you don't just listen to one opinion. I
Yeah,
think that's a sensible thing, just, and it applies to everything. It applies to relationships. It applies to the world that we're living in today. Just try and get as much information as possible from all sides as possible. And when someone says, don't listen to that guy, you know, just ask the question, why? Why? And just think for yourself and just get all the information and be a very curious person and just be a seeker of knowledge. I think that applies to everything, including and beyond Scientology. But
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, I agree.
Very good. Thank you. All right, now this is from Sieglin, and it's a comment. I was in 85, 86, and it's so notable how mine and Amir's more recent experience
Experience.
are so similar. Some things never change. LRH's policies never considered the future. It's true.
Can I say something about that very, very quickly? I had a conversation about this very recently, and I would talk to a lot of executives from from the international base in California, and I would talk to former staff and stuff, and I would tell them what I went through, and they would say, "Wow, nothing's changed." But that's true. But I will tell you what is always going to change: the fucking rates and the prices of courses.
Oh yeah,
That will always remain. I'm telling you, John Atack used to pay £6 an hour for counselling. It's now 1,500 in a normal organization, 2,000 in an advanced organization,
and
and
this is for what?
3,000 for auditing, for counselling,
Oh,
for an intensive
wow.
of 12 and a half hours. So Scientology remains the same, but I'll tell you what doesn't remain the same. The fucking prices don't remain the same, I'll tell you that. They'll always
True,
inflate the prices.
true. And in this day and age with the economy the way it is, it's like don't get wrapped up in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Don't
it's,
lose your life savings.
yeah, yeah. All right, now this is from Amy. make a post about your book recommendations, Tori. Okay,
Great shout. Great shout. You should definitely do
okay,
that.
okay, I will. All right, and this is from Craig in Glasgow. All right. Hi, Tori. Hi, Amir. Question: was Amir ever through in Glasgow with the volunteer ministers? They had a tent on Argyle Street. I spoke to one of the team, and asked about the ideal Oregon Edinburgh.
Shout out to Craig, man. He's a fellow Scot. I feel like I've seen Craig on TikTok before, or at least there was a video that popped up on my TikTok For You page where they were videoing the guys in the yellow volunteer ministers jackets with the tent giving out flyers and promotion. I don't know if it's Craig or if it was someone else, but no, I wasn't there. I knew people that were there. Um, and I went to Glasgow for lectures, but I never went to Glasgow to do anything to do with volunteer ministers at all. I was
Right.
either, yeah, I was in the organization doing, trying to make money, keeping the bills paid. That's what I was trying to do. But I seen them. I did see them for sure. And what's funny is, um, when I was at the IS event last year, David Miscavige, before the IS event on Wednesday, because the IS event's on the Friday, and on the Wednesday, David invites all the execs from the base, and he does the whole IS event as preparation. He drills it, like he practices it. And then the ED, Malcolm, said, Amir, COB's practicing his speech for Friday. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go over and listen to COB. I can't get in the tent. Obviously, I can't get in the fucking marquee, but I'm gonna go outside the tent. I'm gonna listen to COB 2 days before the IS event, listening to him drill his speech. So I went, and then a Russian security guard came out, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just listening to Chairman of the Board." He's like, No, IS event is in 2 days. You hear you. Sorry, I can't do a Russian accent, but he's like, you'll fucking hear it then, okay?" And then I was like, "All
Wow.
right." So anyway, security came and they kicked me off. They did not want me to
Wow.
hear David's speech before the IS event.
They didn't want you
But
to hear David's mistakes.
well, they didn't exactly. They didn't want me
I'm
to hear
sure
David's.
David
But
didn't want you to hear anything.
well, there you go. But that security guard was because what Craig is saying right now about them filming the volunteer ministers in Glasgow, someone put that on TikTok, and it's the security guard. They're Sea Org members. Like there is the same guys that were security, that are Sea Org members, that were security for the IS event, were on the streets passing out promotion, and I'm like,
Right.
fucking hell. Like they really don't have any staff, and they're so
Wow.
undermanned, and they have to, it's like fuck. But I'm pretty sure because there's a Sea Org whole thing called CLO, the Continental Liaison Office. A lot of those guys were on the street of Glasgow books, doing the volunteer minister stuff,
Wow.
just by their own will. It had nothing to do with us in Scotland at all. They just told us that these guys from CLO, from Saint Hill Management, are going to be coming and doing that. So I just find that really interesting, but I wasn't a part of it at all.
Did they ever have, did they ever hire the military there?
Um, Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Like the
Because
military security.
I didn't either, but we ran into this guy who was heavily guarded and
Yeah,
obviously from the military, not Sea Org.
yeah.
And he was out by Author Services, which Miscavige used
Oh,
to be at.
wow.
And so the guy that I was with and Peters, started asking him, "Where's Miscavige?" And he said, "I don't know." And
Uh,
they started going at it. Where is he? It's your job. Well, I don't
y-
know. Da, da, da. And I thought this is not going to end well. I
yeah.
knew he was going to call the police. So I just cut in and I said, "Do you have any idea why we're here?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay, we're here because these people owe me $1 million and they won't talk to me." And
Wow.
he turned white. This is a military guy. And he turns white. And the CO guy comes running out, throws him into the garage, shuts the door. That was that. Now, months later, Mitch Brisker leaves, who was up at Gold. making videos. And I mentioned it to Mitch, and he says if you ever see military outside Scientology, that means Miscavige is inside. Just so you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Just so you know. You know, if
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure they probably will. I don't know if he ever comes to Scotland, but if he does,
Well, the when the guys went to Flag for training, David, like COB, meets with all the FEBC executives and sits down with them at a table before they go back to their orgs, to their organizations in their cities.
right?
And David, I mean, you look at L. Ron Hubbard's one of his science fiction books, Battlefield Earth, probably his most famous science fiction book. L. Ron Hubbard made the Scots, the Scottish guys, the heroes in that film with Johnny Goodboy Tyler. And then you look at LRH's ship, which was called the Royal Scotsman at one point,
True.
And then David Miscavige, whenever he would meet with the one of the EDs, the executive director, who is the boss of the organization in Scotland, he would just totally geek out over Scotland, and he would say, "Me and Shelley actually went on holiday up north in Scotland." And when you look at the whiskey that he drinks, the Scotch, it's Scottish whiskey. And then just and then the executive director would say, "Sir, when we open the ideal organization, is there any way, sir, that we could get you to wear a kilt?" So there's just you hear shit like that, and then you think, I don't know, maybe they are fans of Scotland, but
Yeah.
they would always geek out over Scotland. For I don't know, LRH and David for some reason have some relationship with it, you know.
I'm going to
So yeah,
ask Tom DeVock. He'll know.
ask Devo about it for sure.
I will. I will.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Kelly says, and I think this is true, Alex and Amir have a great team together. Very true.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Alex is cool. I don't want to praise him too much because he's gonna nail me for it after. But I, everyone is like in this community is a team, and everyone is in contact with everyone and helping each other out. But from my perspective, it helps to have someone in the UK or
Oh,
just
yeah.
no. There's Alex and there's many other people as well. There's
Sure.
unsung heroes for sure,
Sure.
but there's so many people in the US and even Australia doing a hell of a job. It helps for me to have people you can go to and meet and help you in the UK, and they know people,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like so Alex has been Alex is very close, and he's been
And
a very
isn't
big
John
help.
Atack in the UK?
Johnny Tech is also yeah, he's in Nottingham, in the UK.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, that helps when you can go and meet these guys, and they can help you and whatnot.
Yeah. Good. Now, oh, yeah, we asked
Oh
about
my God. Alex is
have you
just
cried about missing me when we don't speak for more than 3 hours?
I'll tell you, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm not answering Alex's questions anymore.
Good.
I'll be 2 seconds, Tory, okay?
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're teasing. All
No,
right.
I'm actually gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. He's going to go to the bathroom. All right.
I mean, I'll be two.
All right. Off he goes. Hi ho, hi ho. All right. So JB808 says, comment. You should connect with Mark Bunker, aka Wisebeard Man, aka the national treasure. He's also a huge movie buff like yourself. Yeah, that's a good one. That's good, JB808. Good suggestion. I'll mention it to him when he comes back. Isn't it fun having him out here? And it still blows my mind that I'm in Burbank, California, and he's in Scotland, the country of Scotland. Because I've tried to Google things and they'll give me Scotland something, like in the United States. And I go, no, no, no. This is the country of Scotland in Edinburgh. So anyway, it's amazing that he has gotten out, gotten in, and gotten out in 4 years and was an executive. So that's pretty impressive, I think. Um, so that's a good comment. It's getting pretty late for him. Okay, okay, okay. All right. I was just told it's getting pretty late for you, so let's just finish up these and then you can go to bed. So it says
Okay.
comment you welcome back. You should
Yes.
you should connect with Mark Bunker, aka Wise Beard Ben, aka the National Treasure. He's also a huge movie buff like yourself.
Oh, that's so cool. I'd love to. I'd love to speak. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to get in touch with them if I can like email or message them or whatever, but I'd love to.
Yeah, he's on Facebook, just so you know. You can look him up, Mark Bunker,
Yes.
and
Awesome.
and just send him. I'm sure. Just tell him, you're Amir from Scotland, and he'll
And I'm here from
probably,
Scotland. You'll
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah. All right, now this is from Antics again of a Mama Squirrel. Question, Amir, have you been able to reconnect with friends and family that you lost while you were in Scientology?
Oh, good question. Thankfully, I never lost any family in Scientology, so it was just you leave and then you've got your normal family at home, and you've got So yeah, in terms of like friends, I mean, there was guys that I got in, and I was really cool with them, and then I got them out, and
Oh,
we're
good,
somewhat friends, and we stay in touch and stuff. So I've just been very fortunate there. Thankfully, I haven't lost any family.
good.
Friends, again, it just comes back to what we were saying before. Like, are they like really friends?
All
If
right.
but
What kind of friends could those be if they're going to leave you because you change your mind? That's such a
yeah,
great sentence just by itself.
yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
think that would be a great T-shirt. What kind of friends could those be? And then have it on the back if they leave you because you change your mind.
Let's get it made. That's a great idea.
Yeah. All right. So now, okay. So we asked that. This is from JoJo.
Oh wow,
Amir,
Jojo.
you would do a great job speaking to schools. You are young, and kids would relate. Yeah, I
That's a
agree.
really good idea.
Yeah,
Wow. Shout out to Jojo. Jojo's another fellow Scot. She's from Scotland as well. Um, that's a great idea.
yeah,
I would just say let's make it happen, or let's find a way to make it happen, just to educate the youth, and especially with this new fucking golden age of children, and the potential, God forbid, that it could be in libraries, because there's a whole Sea Org program to try get it into a major, library. Yeah, it's a great idea, Jojo. It's a great idea. I think it would be awesome just to educate the kids on it for sure, and parents as well, because parents have that responsibility, and
right.
parents are also on the internet and see a lot more things. So yeah, it's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah, I think we have to do a big campaign on this children's thing. Like
Yeah,
another thing, there was a gentleman in 2000 who this was his plan, was
yeah.
to go around and talk to the heads of churches,
Oh wow.
like the head of a church, and educate them on this is what the Bible says, this is what L. Ron Hubbard says, this is what
Yeah,
the Bible says, this is what he had all these different quotes. And
yeah.
then and we were there. Frank Oliver, who worked for OSA, and I were inside when the first one they did at
Mm,
Flag. It was in Clearwater. And it was amazing because it's so educational. And then at the end, the minister said, well, do you all want to know what Scientology really believes? And everybody said, yeah. And we were like, and he said, now you have to know you could get pneumonia and die from it. And everyone started laughing, right? And so he read about OT3 and everyone burst out laughing, the whole place. But I thought that's a great way you could educate parents about these children's books, right? Would be through
mhm.
churches because a lot of them go to church and it's a great way. It's like it isn't you, it's the minister. You see what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
another way.
Can I tell you a story that I've never told anyone? And I just
Sure.
it just came to me right now. It's so funny the stuff you remember, like just
Yeah.
as you were speaking right now. When I was in charge of getting as many new people into Scientology as possible, and I had creative control to do that via social media and lectures and stuff. I there's a book. I think it was the last book that Elleridge had ever written before he passed on in '86, called The Way to Happiness. And you have these 21 precepts, these 21, it's like the Ten Commandments, right? Don't kill anyone, don't steal anything, respect all religions, respect the law of the land, respect your parents, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, at the time, I thought, huh, well, I don't think anyone can argue with this book. So I went to a church and I went to a mosque and I went to a synagogue and I sat down with a rabbi and a priest and not an imam, but um, a lady who's in charge of the library in the mosque. And I said, there's this book called The Way to Happiness. And it's not like a religious book or anything at all, but I was wondering if I could give you just a free, because the book is free. They hand it out on the streets, and if you do a personality test, they might give it to you. You don't have to pay for the way to happiness. I think, it's a free little book. Um, so anyway, I told that to them, and they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you pass me the book? I'll give it a read, and then I'll shoot you an email, or I'll invite you back over and we can talk." All three of them invited me back over, and I went and met them
Wow,
in person, and I sat down with them in their offices, and
good.
but here's the thing. Scientology will say, the director of special affairs will sit down with these guys in interfaith and talk about Scientology, and it's well respected in the community, and there's all this interfaith bollocks. But when I got invited back, they said, Amir, on the surface, the book is good. But I Googled the author. And also at the back of the book in small print, it says RTC, Religious Technology Center and stuff. So they Googled it and they were horrified to find what there is to find about L. Ron Hubbard and RTC and Church of Scientology at the back.
Right.
And they said, if anyone picks up this book and gets into Scientology, you know, it wouldn't be the best thing because for anyone to get into that stuff. So out of respect, we can't put it in our churches or synagogues or
Sure.
mosques, you know.
Sure.
So I just find that really funny as you're speaking right now, how there's all this interfaith stuff, and they might post pictures, or maybe like the building opens like an ideal organization, one of those massive buildings, and they have these speakers, chief officer of the police and stuff, or a Sister Mary's coming to, but then when you try and meet these guys for yourself, it's like they're like, oh my God. Like when they Google it, they're like, no, get that shit away from me, you know? But it's just funny. It's not accepted in the community at all.
Good. Well, I had it here in LA. Again, this was in the early 2000s, but they had a minister had asked me to come speak at his church.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know if he was Osa or a real guy, but I went and I gave my talk. And at the end, he had me and Steve, I forget his last name, but he's up in Canada
Mm,
and he's a professor. So the two of us spoke
yeah.
and we both talked about fair game and what had happened to us. And at the end, went outside, and just like you said, they always create their own enemies. There they
Mm,
were. I mean, the minister at the end, because I said to the minister, look, they're going to get into this speech. And he said,
yeah.
no, this is invitation only. So I showed up, and his hair was like straight up. And I said, what's going on? And he goes, they're here. And I said, what happened? And it was Barbara Wiseman, and she had called and said, "Look, I'll exchange your next seminar with this one if you
Mm,
let me go." And he went, "Okay." And so she's in it. So at the end, and it was after 9/11, and she goes, I don't know if it wasn't after 9/11 because that wouldn't have been in 2000, but anyway, it was
mm,
something that had gone on, and she raised her hand and she said, with the world being in such bad shape, I really think we shouldn't concentrate on this stuff, this fair game stuff. We should concentrate on positive thinking. And of course, because they're ministers, they all felt guilty, and that was that. That was the end of it. But we walk outside, and there's Osa with the kids surrounding all the ministers passing out shit about this professor, right? And and
Oh
how
my
bad he
God.
is. So they
Oh.
all got really frightened because they really had heard us, and they surrounded me and walked me to my car, right? So that's how scared they were. So now the minister calls me and he says, "Look, they want a private briefing with me." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you something. They are going to take you, they'll drive over you. Their main thing will be you never did Scientology, so you don't know what you're talking about." So he said,
Mm,
"Well, will you come?" And I said, "I will." So I go. We're at Celebrity Center. They have three people. Me, and Jeff Jacobson came. So it's the three of us. And they had, I think, 17 minutes to talk, and he had 17 minutes. Now, I don't know if you know this or not. You probably do, but they used to be able to do Div 6 lectures where anybody
mm.
could get up anywhere and talk. But
Yeah.
now they can't do that. Do you
Mhm.
know that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What do they say? Why can't you?
It's just control. It's just a control factor and being able to have that level of control about what people say. It's all PR when you water it down.
No,
Um,
I know why. I know why it is. I'm asking you, what do they say when you're a staff member?
about
So that
delivering
you don't,
lectures.
yeah, so you don't get up and give lectures.
I mean, they'll. That's a good question. They'll just you get a different answer from everybody, but they'll just try and acknowledge you and say it's okay, we've got it handled. Someone else is going to do it, or
Yeah,
don't
we've
worry
got it
about it.
organized, or here's what we want you to say. And what it is,
That's what I got. Yeah,
I was in when that came about. And what
yeah,
happened is we were doing seminars to doctors, dentists, chiropractors, all kinds of stuff. And
yeah.
everybody was saying different things. So the critics went into the courtrooms and said, look, these Scientologists all say they have standard tech,
Mm,
but everything is different. They all say it differently. So
yeah,
that means we have a right to say it ourselves. And the judge said, you're right. So now Scientology, their solution to that was everything has to go all the way up lines and get issue authority before you can say it publicly,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So
Right.
that stopped that. So now I'm out and we're in talking to these ministers, and they have 17 minutes to talk, but remember, they can't talk anymore. They can't say
Mm,
anything. They can only read LRH. So they
mhm,
read the code of a Scientologist, and different, they read a few different things. One of them
yeah.
is man has the inalienable right to free speech and free thought,
Oh, pff.
right? Right?
It's
So
such a
that's,
lot of shit.
I know. So I'm thinking when I'm home, what should I bring with me? And I go, I know, I'll bring my SP declare, right?
Wow, there
And
you
so
go.
I've got it with me. So now
That,
they do their 17 minutes, he does his, and I know all three of the people there. I know every one of them. They're two OTs and an attorney, which
yeah.
only Scientology would bring an attorney to a church lecture, right?
Hmm, hmm,
But
hmm.
they do. And I know the attorney, and I know all three of them, and I know all three of them know what he's talking about, which is unaliving the kids, unaliving themselves, stopping free speech, breaking up families, stuff like that. Everything
Yeah.
he brought up, they said, well, I don't know anything about that. Do you? No. Do you? No. So at the end, I was right. He would look like a complete moron, like he didn't know anything.
Wow. Do
But
you,
the guy that had walked in was a big guy, and he gave me a really dirty look. And I thought, okay, they've third partied him about me. They've said a bunch of shit about me. So I knew he didn't like me. So now I raised my hand and I said, could I say something? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, they just read L. Ron Hubbard's advice that man is inalienable right to free speech and free thought. Yes or no? And he goes, yes. And I said, okay, the fact is, they declare people suppressive, meaning they're the most evil people on the planet, and no one in Scientology is allowed to talk to me or my husband or any of my friends. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah. And I have the SP declare to show it. And he goes, come
Wow.
on. They don't put it in writing, do they? And I said, oh, yes, they do. And here it is. And it's by the Church of Scientology. And I pass it around to them. That's why I have it laminated so that I can keep it going. But
Amazing.
I'm telling you, it was a slam dunk. He came over to me and gave me a hug and he said, I cannot thank you enough. I'm so sorry for how I treated you. It was really cool. I was like, all right.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, there's an unbelievable amount of contradictions in Scientology. You know, like, how can you have in the ethics book that it's a high crime and a suppressive act to report any crime of a Scientologist or Scientology to law enforcement? Okay,
Right.
fine. So you can report to law enforcement, so everything has to be in house. Fine, okay. But then in the way to happiness, it says to respect the law of the land. So now you've got a clear contradiction right there with L. Ron
Right.
Hubbard policy. Okay, fine. Let's leave that aside. Maybe it's just an L. Ron Hubbard mistake. It says in the Code of a Scientologist, it says in the Code of a Scientologist, like you just said, that you know, you have the freedom of speech to speak to whoever you want to. All right, fine. So why is it that it is a high crime and a suppressive act, and you can be declared or have a committee of evidence if you publicly leave Scientology, or if you did what I did and you speak to someone without attacking the organization in any
Right.
way, just online, bang. Okay, so there's another clear contradiction right there with
Yeah.
The Way to Happiness and with the ethics book. There is an unbelievable I mean, like that whole thing about Scientology is only true if it's true for you, which is chapter 2 of New Slant on Life, Personal Integrity. It's the very first line of that chapter. Scientology is only true for you if you've experienced it or if you've observed it. It's only true to according to your observation. I tried to pull that trick with the executive director, and I said, I don't agree with this. And at the end of the day, it's not true for me. And he showed me a reference again from the ethics book, basically saying that I had to follow L. Ron Hubbard policy. I didn't have to agree with L. Ron Hubbard policy. I'd have to find the reference, but I was shown that. There you go, another clear contradiction. So there are so many, and obviously there's people that have read and studied a lot more L. Ron Hubbard policy than me. LRH did over 3,000 lectures. And if you've
Right.
ever been in a Scientology course room, you look at the size of all the bulletins and the size of the management series and the size of the organization executive course, the OEC volumes, and you'd think that you're studying to be like a scholar, you know, like for 50 years. Like, it's almost impossible to get through all of that material. You'd have to dedicate your entire life to it, to read
Right.
everything that LRH had did. And you've got, you know, the R&D volumes, research and discovery volumes of the transcripts of all of his lectures. Like, there's just so
Right.
much stuff it's impossible to do in a human life whilst, you
Exactly.
know, having a normal life. So there's so many, and then you've got the disturbing things that LRH has said in the State of Man Congress about children in Dianetics, about, you know, about how if you are a homosexual, you are a degraded being. It is considered an aberration. There's so many things and so many contradictions that LRH says that anyone can read online for free or whatever. You don't have to take my word for it at all. Just take LRH's
Yeah.
word for it,
Yeah. Sure.
right? But it's so flawed. It's so flawed. And, you know, why do people not know this? Or why do people. It's just a lack of education. And it's also that level of control. You know, in Steve Hassan's bite model, you have the information factor, the information control. And it's. Don't fucking listen. Fake news. Don't listen to those guys. And listen. Have you enjoyed this course? Yeah, yeah, I feel like I've got something out of it. Then just go with that. Don't listen to the, you know, like there is that information control of
Right.
what's true for you. Like, fuck those guys. What's true for you, you know? But no, that's not the way. Look at the facts. Look at what he says. If someone says something about it, verify it, fact check it. You know, it just encourages you to put on your investigation hat and actually look into stuff and not
Sure.
always take people's word for it.
Right.
So it's so flawed. It's so incredibly flawed. And there's so many contradictions in it that just make the whole thing fall apart. Um, but yeah, there's obviously a lot to say about that.
I know. Well, I understand. I mean, I was on OT7 when they changed the definition of FN. Now think about
That's
that.
right.
That
Yeah,
was in the 90s.
yeah,
LRH started the e-meter in the 50s. So that means all of his auditing was
yeah,
invalidated. If the
yeah.
FNs were wrong, which is that's what they were saying. They had to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Mm,
Now, LRH said, are you waiting for the meter to play Dixie? Don't just stare at the meter. If the person looks like they're FMVGIs, meaning very good indicators, and the needle
mm,
is floating at
mm,
all,
mm,
indicate it. Say, thank you very much, your needle's floating. That was
mm,
LRH. That's
mm,
in writing. But now they decided because of Miscavige, they
mm.
had to change the definition. That is the biggest controversy of anything, I think, because it
Yeah,
invalidates L. Ron Hubbard's auditing as
yeah,
well
big
as
time.
everybody else's. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know the like the test of a lot of these, like when you look at religion and philosophy and you look at the, like these different materials and books, like you look at what's been preserved over time, the preservation of something, and you look at what's been changed and what's been altered and why it's been altered. And in some cases, it's, they spoke Latin or they spoke Greek or they spoke Aramaic or Hebrew or like whatever it is, right? And they translate it into different languages, or there's different interpretations. But none of, like, David Miscavige will get, and you'll find all this stuff on YouTube. Like COB will brief all these guys and say, this is exactly as LRH intended. This is standard tech. Okay, I've restored it. And in fact, the person that transcribed L. Ron Hubbard's stuff made a spelling mistake, or they didn't write what LRH was saying. And so I had to go and fucking fix it. And by I
Right.
had to go and fucking fix it, I had to go and employ SEERG members to not sleep for days and days and days and work on this project. Like there's so much abuse that went on there, but the whole preservation thing and making it as LRH intended for it to be is just a load of bananas.
Totally.
Uh, there you go. Another golden age, though, right? Another golden age.
Well, I'm glad. Is there somewhere where the average person can find that video?
Uh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Alex Barnes Ross put it on his YouTube channel, the whole entire event,
Okay.
and you can go
Okay.
listen to it. You can go see what people were briefed on, what they had to say. Tony Ortega's put out a lot of articles showing images and prices and what their plans are to get this into a library. And
Okay. Good.
so and obviously you've pulled up, and Kelly's pulled up Tampa Brad's Scientology podcast, Don't Do Nothing, which is totally also approved. Because you have Tom Cummings and you have Manuel Suarez and you have all those guys going on as guests to speak on it, and it's like a legit Scientology podcast. Like they're not hiding it.
Right.
Like they
Right.
speak the language and they're trying to get people in it, but clearly he's now talking about it as well. So you'll find it there for sure, those places, and probably more, to be honest.
Okay. Good. And
Yeah.
also it's on Tampa Bread's site too, right? That's the actual Scientology version of it.
Yeah.
If you just
Yeah.
want to see, excuse me, what are they saying to the Scientologists? Because
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to look at each time. Because I always say, look at both sides. And
Yeah.
it's like you can look at the people that are critical of it and the breakdown, and also look at theirs and see what they say and see, you know what I mean? Like think about it. So
Mm,
because if you really do that, I always say, we used to, when we were walking around protesting, we would say to people, find out about Scientology. It's worse than you think.
yeah.
And that's a very true statement. It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Absolutely. You just reminded me right now of of their TikTok. And I have these videos always pop up on my For You page, and Elena Cardone, Grant Cardone's wife, has popped up quite a bit talking about Dianetics on a podcast, and she's talked about the emotional tone scale, and she's talked about misunderstood words and study technology and stuff. And it's just funny because a clip popped up recently on my TikTok page, and she says, find out for yourself. Pick up a book and read it. And there's so much black PR. And I'm like, I did find out for myself. I did go in, I did study the basic books. I did do several courses. I became an executive. She never became a staff member. She never was in the C organization. Other people who have reached higher ranks than me, who have been in for decades and decades and decades, have found out for themselves, as you say. And I encourage you, go find out for yourself. Go read about their Scientology.org, go read about the website, and go read about what people have to say about it. Go read about people that works with David Miscavige. Go read about people who were his messengers. Go read about people who were on the ship with him. I mean, I think it's a good idea, like who worked with Ron and what did they have to say about it, you know?
Right. Right.
Go and read, find out these contradictions in the ethics book, in The Way to Happiness. You don't have to go in. You can read them online and
Sure.
you can see what LRH had to say about children and the treatment of children. And you can see what LRH had to say about we're here to make the able more able. We're here to clear the planet, which is really interesting because it's quite extreme. By clear the planet, which is impossible because if you're there to make the able, which is another contradiction, you're there to make the able more able, but you're there to clear the planet. But then how can you clear the planet if you're not helping the poor? If you don't, there's nothing in Scientology policy about donating to charity. There's nothing about Scientology policy
Exactly.
about if you see a guy on the street right next to the
Yeah.
org, you just walk past him. There's nothing
Yeah.
about helping those guys.
No.
So it's by that it's impossible to clear the planet. But to clear the planet, okay, well, I don't mean clear the planet like vaporize the planet. I mean something else. I mean getting the planet to the state of clear, which is
Right.
getting rid of their reactive mind, which is covered in the Dianetics book. But if we look at that, um, everyone on the planet Earth would have to be Scientologists because they'd all have to be on the bridge. They'd all have to do their purification rundown, their purif. They'd have to do the grades. They would have to do ARC straightwire, and these are all courses and levels given to you on a gradient. They would all have to do NED, new aerodynetics. They would all have to do all these rundowns. They would all have to write success stories and go on the meter and go in session. They would all have to come in. They'd all have to pay thousands and thousands of pounds. Like you look at what they're saying. We're here to clear the planet, right? It's an extremist. It's not we're here to spread the word about Scientology and
Well, we're here
live
to help,
peacefully.
but yeah,
It's not we're
no.
here to help and we're here to live peacefully. And if you don't want to accept it, that's absolutely fine. I've spread it, I've given you the message. And as long as we can live peacefully with all religions, with all faiths, with all people, and who they are, that's right. No, they're there to fucking clear the planet. They don't give a shit. Like, they hit the streets every day for hours and hours and hours trying to get people and trying to physically, and they drill and practice body control and trying to get people in, and they have policies like hard sell, getting people through their stops and barriers. So you sit down with someone and you want them to sign up for a course or a service and get them in the course from the started, or you want to sell someone a book. And this is why a personality test and a stress test is very dangerous. You don't just get your results in happy days. Hallelujah. No, you get your results, you sit down in a room with someone and they try and sell you a book. That person has statistics, which again, people don't know about. But you have policies like hard sell, and you'll sit down with a guy, and part of the definition of hard sell is getting people through their stops and barriers. So you sit down with a guy, and it's like, you know what you told me right now about how you had that thing with your relationship with your girlfriend, and it stresses you out, and it's really difficult. I want you to buy this book right now called Dianetics: The Modern Science of Mental Health. And I want you to read up to page 15. And when you read page 15, I want you to come in. And he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure. And it's a big book. And I didn't really bring any cash with me and stuff. No, no, I totally understand that. I totally understand that. But this book is going to change your life. And this book is what you were telling me about how you cry, about what you went through with your girlfriend, about how you go home and you're stressed out and it's taking a toll on your relationship. I mean, it's taking a toll on you, right? Yeah, it's taking a toll on me. Okay, buy the book. You know, like it's persistence. It's persistence. It's part of the definition of hard sell. So,
Right.
you know, it's there. It is an extremist group. Really, they're there to force Scientology on the world and clear the planet. Okay, everyone on the bridge, making everyone Scientology clears. Which again, is impossible because you can't go clear if you've had ECT psychiatric treatment. So again, it's like there's so many. I mean, Ron really fucked himself
I
with
know.
he really did. I mean, with all of the words that he's written and all of the takes that he had on all these different subjects. And you know well, when you listen to an Aaron Hubbard lecture, the title of the lecture is like gradients and taking things bit by bit. But then half an hour he's talking about how he's an aviator. You know,
Right.
like he likes to give his takes on a lot of things. And
Sure.
people that knew LRH know how much he can talk. And there's lectures
Right.
that are 3 hours long that you have to listen to, and a study period is only 2.5 hours. You know, plus the time it takes you to go and look up the definition of this word. And you know, if Aaron
Oh,
Hubbard goes and talks about nuclear science and nuclear physics, and
forget it.
you have to go and look up the definition of
Yeah.
nuclei and you know all this stuff, right? But the more I look at it, I'm like, wow, fucking hell, it's like an extremist group that's there to, you know, really makes itself known. It's there to clear the planet and it's there to force Scientology upon everyone, you know? It's
All right,
really,
and let
really
me tell
dangerous.
you this, because this is a fact that happened. They decided, I think in the late 80s,
Yeah,
they wanted to reintroduce book one, which is Dianetics, right?
yeah,
So people could get clear. So they trained me at Flag. I was a Flag Legionnaire with a bunch of other people, and then they sent us around to do these book one seminars,
yeah.
and we did them. Now, roll forward a few months, a bunch of them that had done the seminar, nobody ever bought anything in Scientology. They'd do the seminar and they'd leave. Nobody ever bought a course or a book, ever. So that's number one. Number two, now a bunch of them figured out how to go clear
Mm,
without ever entering the church. And
hmm.
they started writing the church saying what a win it was that they now are clear, right? That's what they thought.
Yeah.
And you know what Scientology did? These are people that are going clear just using Dianetics. They
Hmm.
canceled the entire program overnight, declared the guy that ran it SP, and canceled the entire program overnight. So that
Wow.
really shows you they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It isn't whether it does clear work or not. It doesn't matter. They're after money. That's it. That's all they're after.
Dinero, dinero. That's all it is. Money, money,
Yeah,
money, money, money. Yeah,
money,
that's all
money,
it
money.
is. And
Yeah,
how do you go on stage at the IS event? You pay. Patron is 50
right,
grand.
right.
Patron Meritorious is 100 grand. Patron Excalibur, you're paying 5 million. How do you go on stage and get a trophy and get a picture with COB with David Miscavige? Money. How do
And
you
who
attend the IS event?
cares when you think about it, really? I
Yeah,
mean, think of what you could do with that money for real people that really need
with $300 million, like Trish Duggan's pit. Well, actually, Trish Duggan exceeds that. Trish Duggan is someone needs to do something on Trish Duggan. I've met Trish, um, because I met her at the IS event. It goes beyond money and it becomes about a conversation of power. Trish Duggan, and they're all MAGA Trump supporters, by the way. Manuel Suarez, all these guys. I mean, look at their Instagram. They're at Mar-a-Lago, and they're very very big advocates of Trump. But it becomes a conversation of power. Pam Bondi. There's a picture of Pam Bondi in 2016 speaking at Flag Land Base. And how do I know it's Flag Land Base? How do I know that this guy isn't just saying that? On the floor, it has the Flag Land Base symbol of the mountain, same flag. Okay, so she's speaking at Flag. All right, cool. Then we look at Trish Duggan. Trish Duggan is the head I think of the board of Kennedy or something like that, or the Kennedy Center. She's she's ahead of that, and she donates a lot of money to the
Oh,
Republicans and to
wow.
Donald Trump, right? What's the perks of that? Well, you've got Clearwater, Florida, and you've got the city council, and you've got controlling things there.
Right.
So it's, when you want to buy a property, when you want to purchase this, when you want to have that political leverage and control and no one questioning you and having more power in that, in Clearwater, Florida, you've got the city council. You've got, all of them being paid off or they are Scientologists themselves. And
Right.
then you've got Trish and what she's doing with the Trump administration and who, Lord knows who Trish Duggan is funding, you know. But it becomes about control. And so when you want to take action or do something like that, and you've got someone like Trish pumping in millions and millions and millions of dollars to these guys to be quiet about Scientology or to not say anything about it or not take action, that's quite concerning. As well as donating to the IS, they also donate to these politicians to keep quiet about certain things. And so that's definitely something to watch out for, is that political leverage for sure. Um, but yeah, it's a very interesting subject, and there's been incredible awareness, and that's why I'm happy what Mark Bunker is doing. You know,
Sure.
um, and I wish him luck for that. So hopefully that goes
Me
well for
too.
him.
Me
Yeah.
too. I do
Uh,
too.
Tori, have you ended up seeing any of the TikTok videos pop up on your For You page at all? Like the organizations and those guys, like Minnesota and San Francisco. Have you ever seen them pop up on your TikTok?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. Someone was helping me get my videos up and
Yeah,
they stopped. They're helping someone else.
yeah,
But they never taught me how to do it. So I don't really know how to put videos up and I don't
yeah.
even know what a For You page is.
It's just
So,
when you click on TikTok and you start scrolling through, there's a page of video like YouTube Shorts, for example, or like on Facebook. You go on and there's just stuff that comes up when you're swiping through. That's the algorithm giving you stuff that you might like. So
ah,
that's
that's
TikTok is
called your
called For
For
You page.
You. So it's just your
Yeah.
name,
Yeah, it's
right?
just literally when you click on the app, it's the first thing that pops up and it's all those videos that the algorithm thinks you might like. That's on
Wow.
TikTok, your For You page. And so you go on TikTok and these videos come up. Um,
Do you know how to do TikTok? Because I need someone to teach me how to just put up a video. That's all I need. Are you there? Amir, what happened? Uh-oh. Amir, come back. Oh no. Amir. Ah, what happened? Uh-oh. Maybe they timed us out. I'll help you, Tori. Okay, Liz. Okay, Liz Gale will. All right. Okay, now wait a second. I gotta find out what happened to Amir. Did Amir leave? Are you counted him out or something? Or what happened? Kelly, what happened to Amir? Oh God, I can't even talk to you. Ah, Kelly, what happened to Amir? Okay, I guess she's gone. Well, there we are. Can you hear me?
uh-oh. I don't think also like that very much. I don't know. There's some interference there. I just got randomly kicked out, and I was like, "What the hell?"
I know.
I
I was like,
don't think they
Amir,
like my
Amir,
COB
Amir,
comments very
what
much.
happened? Oh, thank God you're back. I
Oh,
was
I'm gonna.
really worried.
Why is the sound gone? That is so.
Is your sound
incredibly
gone? Is your
fascinating. I'm just going to take out my headphones and plug them
is
back
your
in.
sound gone now? Your sound is still
Um,
gone?
oh, there we go. I can hear you better. That's so weird. What the hell? There you go. Office of Special Affairs Intelligence right there. Okay, I can hear you perfectly now. That's so weird. I just got
Good.
randomly booted out of the
I,
stream.
I know it was, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what happened?"
What was I saying before I left? We've both forgotten.
I'm the worst person to ask that to.
I mean, I
Um,
forgot too. I don't know.
no, I'm trying to think. What were we talking about? I think it
uh,
was
wow, I'm just as bad as you. Like, I'm like, I, I have no idea. I don't know.
OSA fails once again. Okay, for
That was so
you on
weird.
Facebook. Oh yeah, you were talking about the. I know what it was. I was talking about the TikTok thing and how to put up a YouTube. Your page.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what we were talking about.
That's
So
right.
I was
I,
asking you, could you help me at some point?
yeah, absolutely, for sure, for sure. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
we can jump on a call and I can help you for sure.
Okay, good.
Um, I was gonna say honestly, like, I need to do like some sort of with someone like a reaction video to these TikToks because the amount of shit that these guys like. I know all of them because I worked with them. Like, I know Gunner from Minnesota. I know Andy who makes all the San Francisco videos. I know all the Las Vegas. I know all of these guys because I worked. In fact, I did a collaboration video with all of them where we threw the Dianetics book to each other across the world. So I had to literally. I have to send you the video. It's hilarious. I organized with all of those guys catching Dianetics and throwing it. It was a bitch to organize, honestly, because people you had to deal with people like from Colombia and people from Kaohsiung, and you had to deal with loads of people across the world on different time zones. While they have to be on post, they have to catch it from the right direction and throw it in the right direction. They have to say the name of the country, and so it was like people were fucking up so much. I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna take it and then put it out. Um,
Yeah, you've got to do reaction videos. That's a great idea.
yeah,
That
I
would
mean,
be
just
fantastic.
because I just want to debunk it because it would pop up and they would say like, is Scientology religion? And then one of the staff members would say, yeah, it is. And actually, it's legally recognized as a religion and it's IRS tax exempt. Or is Scientology open to everyone? Yes, it is. Anyone can just walk into the Church of Scientology. We welcome all religions, all faiths, all backgrounds. But then you ask someone, okay, can I ask you a question, sir? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Is Scientology a religion? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Does Scientology welcome? Like, can I still like be a can I still be a Jew and practice Scientology? Can I be a Christian and practice Scientology? Is that okay? Absolutely, of course you can. Ha! So that means I've got two religions then. Scientology is a religion, and I join and partake in it and I believe in it. But I can also be a Christian and be a Scientologist. So I've got two religions. There you go. That's an interesting one. So what religion are you? Well, I'm a Scientologist and a Christian. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, it's like two religions. There's just shit like that. Like Scientology being open. There's so many stuff that they come up with. And I'm like, and I'm bad
But
for it because I used to do it.
it's easy to dead agent it because I used to say it all the time. I'd say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Catholic and a Scientologist," right?
Yeah.
But when was the last time I went to church? It was
Yeah.
50 years ago,
Mm,
right? Because Scientologists don't really go to church. They can say they go to Sunday service, but I helped
pff,
start that. I in
yeah.
the 70s. And why did I start it? Because I was going around talking to the town, and the
Yeah.
town was saying they're not a church. And I was saying, why do you say that? And they said, because they don't have Sunday service. So
Mm,
I went back to them and said, look, you've got to start a Sunday service.
yeah.
And we did.
Yeah.
But it's not really, it's not a religion. They don't believe in anything. Now they say they have parishioners instead of, members.
Mm.
And instead of an org, they call them churches. Just
Yeah. But then no
so
nobody calls Elleridge policy scripture. Nobody refers to it as
they're
that. And
starting it here. They are. And I'm
really,
trying to point that out every time. It's like scripture on what?
yeah, yeah.
Based on what?
And it also says like Scientology is not, and they say it a lot of the time on TikTok and with these new organizations like jumping on TikTok and stuff. Um, they'll get a question, is Scientology a faith? And they'll say, absolutely not. And in fact, Scientology is only true if it's true for you. And Scientology is an applied philosophy. And it's just like, huh? But then on OT3, you're told about the secrets of the universe and how you have these things stuck to you and how you came to be and how you're a mortal spiritual thetan and how you have multiple lives and you have blown up planets and conquered planets and you have ran planets and you've done all sorts of stuff in your past lives and you have and this guy called Xenu deported um got rid of he had a very very big overpopulation problem and he had to handle it and the elections were coming up so he had to stick these guys freeze them in glycol put them on we're both cracking up saying this. Put them on space planes, which are similar to DC-8s or some shit. Fly them over to Earth, over to TGAC. Drop them in a volcano, blow it up with a hydrogen bomb, and then catch them, and then put implants in them so that they watch whatever, and then release them, and then they attach to us. And that's a big problem with why I think a certain way. And you're telling me it's not based on a faith.
And just so
Huh?
you know, what you're saying is all on this website,
Yeah,
www.xenu.net.
Xenu.net.
OT3 is Andreas put that on there. So
Yeah,
it's in LRH's handwritten
yeah.
notes are
His
on
handwritten
there.
notes literally written from
Yeah,
the guy, which is
yeah.
impossible to read, by the way. LRH's handwriting. It's really difficult to read. I've
A
tried.
minor point.
True. That's very true. That's very true.
No,
But
it
it's just
isn't.
stuff
What
like
you're
that.
saying is very true. All right. Well,
Yeah.
Amir, I could keep you on all night long, but I'm already being warned by Kelly that it's too late for you and that we have to end off. What time is it there?
Um, it's past 2 a.m.
All
I'm a
right.
complete night owl, but yeah, it's definitely getting
I'm a
late over
night
here.
owl too. You you and I could probably stay up all night talking and it'd be no problem.
I know. What time is it for you in over there?
It's 6:07
Wow, wow, you still got
at
hours.
night. It's 6:07 on I think we're
For
on
sure.
Tuesday night, right? I think it's Tuesday.
It's so for me it's Thursday. For you it'll be
Okay,
Wednesday.
then it's Wednesday here.
Yeah,
I
we're
can
in the
never keep
future.
once you retire, it's sort of like, what day is it? It's sort of like every day for me is the weekend, you know.
Right, right. I mean, we're literally in the future over here.
You
You're
are.
still Wednesday for you. For us, it's Thursday.
Yeah. All right, good. Well, we'll have to do another one, Amir, because I love talking to you. And it's so
Likewise.
funny because both of us said, well, what are we going to talk about?
I
And
know. It's like
like but I realize I say that with everyone that I interview, and it's like everyone has their story and tons of stuff to say. So
very
and
true.
it's not like you're done. It's not like okay, Amir has said everything. He has nothing else to say. We could literally, you and I, stay on all night long, and I'll bet you we could talk all night long, sharing
Yeah.
stories. You know what I
Well, we'll
mean?
have to do it in the future. We'll have to do it. Just grab a coffee or something and chat.
I know
There's.
we should plan on an all night Amir and Magoo just for fun,
I
and
mean, I'm down for. I don't know if anyone would. I'd be surprised if people wanted to hear me talk shit
well,
for that long. But I mean, yeah, I'm down
it
for it.
doesn't matter. I mean, if we could both just put it out there and make a list of the things that you think are the most important, and me too, and we'll just share stories and we'll just stay up.
Yeah.
because it's like
Yeah,
we're both night owls. So what the heck? So you let
yeah.
me know when is good for you because we'll plan it, and we'll just have a good time. It'll be fun.
I
I
love
love
it.
talking to you. I'm so proud of you. I really am.
Likewise, like I'm a fan. Likewise, it's anytime, Tori. It's an absolute pleasure as always.
All right. Well, you let me know when you're ready for our all night.
I will. I will definitely.
And thank you for coming on. I love hearing everything about this. It's amazing. Your story is truly amazing. I do hope you start a YouTube site, even if you just put up one video and leave it there. I don't care. It's like whatever you want to do, do. And if you don't want
Yeah,
to, don't. But I think if you got started, that's what happened to me. You get started and then you go, oh, wait a minute, I have another thing to say. I mean, and another thing. you know,
yeah.
it just starts rolling. And
I
it's
really want to
very
do
healing.
lectures. It's very
Yeah,
here. I want to do lectures. I don't know. I probably need to make a few phone calls or something, but I would love to go to different places and do lectures and just educate people on the subject. That's
that's
something that's like a passion thing I would love to do. But it's an
a
idea.
great idea. The only
Yeah.
thing I would say is bring someone with you if you do,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Um,
because they,
but
they will for sure have people there to, black PR you and say shit about you and stuff. And
pff,
so it helps to have two people.
yeah, I'm very upset I don't have a hate website yet. I'm waiting for them to make a hate website about me. I don't know. Maybe it's never gonna happen. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
We'll see.
see. We'll see.
But an absolute pleasure, Tori, I have to say.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and thank you
For
everyone who's
sure.
been on.
Shout
And
out to everyone that's been watching this, for sure.
yeah,
Everyone that's been watching this for 3 hours. I mean, tuning in, asking questions.
yeah,
Because I that was me. I would tune in and watch live streams and well, actually, I wouldn't ask questions, but I would tune in and watch live streams and I would reach out to people when I was still an executive there. Some people would speak to me, some people were quite skeptical, some people quite busy. So that's why just anyone that watches these channels and stays and watches these 3 hours and just wants to learn about the subject and just wants to be educated, like shout out to you. Shout out to
all
everyone
right. So
watching
we're
this.
gonna do an all-nighter though, and do it. We are.
For sure, for sure.
So you let me know when you want to do it,
I
because
will
it's
do.
over to you. I'm good anytime.
Okay. We'll set it up.
All right. Peace out.
Take care,
Thank
Tori.
you again, and thank you, Kelly, for being the moderator.
Shout out to
And
Kelly.
thank you everybody who's been online. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, you take care of you, Amir.
I will do. You too, Tori.
Thank you. All right. See you later, Gator. I'm
See
going to
ya.
sign out now and end this.